Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream, this time out of Gameweek 26, and we've got a quick turnaround by the way, because on Tuesday we've got yet another deadline stream, and the Champions League will be in the following game week, or the following week, and that will be covered on this channel, so be sure to tune in by smashing the like button of this video, subscribing. We did hit 32,000 during the recent UCL Fantasy deadline stream, so thank you very much for your support. I'll be going through hundreds of your questions as I usually do in this stream and covering the latest injury updates, team news, and anything that hasn't really been addressed in the last couple of videos. And I'll also update certain graphics like my predictions, because I have made slight few modifications for certain results, mainly in terms of the scoreline. So that will all be delved into throughout the entirety of this deadline stream. So in the end, with Game Week 25 for me, I got 97 points and a small green arrow to 380,000. But ultimately, it was those with David Moyes and Unai Emery who ended up doing very well with the assistant manager, or perhaps he just went for Marco Silva from the get-go. But I still think Arne Slot has been fairly decent, and I haven't made any transfers just yet. I proposed several moves in my team selection video yesterday. One of them is actually selling Arne Slot, and the question is, which manager would I replace him with? In terms of being safe with it, I think Mikel Arteta would be a very sound pick. Otherwise, to chase the table bonus, my preference is Oliver Glasner, but you've also got Ruud van Nistelrooy, McKenna, or perhaps you maybe fancy a West Ham upset and you'd go for Graham Potter, but it's ultimately high risk, high reward. Even keeping what you have with Arne Slot, Unai Emery, or David Moyes might work very well for you too. And there's also a few other moves I could make, like Morgan Rogers to Matoma or Kluivert, perhaps even Danga Ouattara, and up front Ndiaye is the one to sell. And I've got 2.1 million in the bank, so I could upgrade him to Matheus Cunha, Marmoush, or perhaps go in a different direction. And after Gimmick 26, that 1.5 million from Arne Slot, or whoever I end up going for as my final manager, that will go back into my team, and I will have a lot of money left to spend in terms of my 15-man squad. Gabriel will be a prime target in that defensive line, but it will all be covered in the next few hours. Cyril says, hey Dylan, should I start Pickford or Flecken? I would favour Pickford here. And in terms of my predictions for the games, I'll show them again at some stage. I've gone for 2-0 Everton against Man United and a 2-1 win for Brentford away from home against Leicester. Start one of Hall or Castagna? Yeah, good question. So I'd probably go for Lewis Hall. If it was Robinson though, because of his attacking potential, I would go for Robinson. But in your case, I think Lewis Hall is a slight preference of mine. Easy says, already transferred out Gravenberch to Wanyeri to load some money in the future. Yeah, Gravenberch had a great start to the season, but he's never been a good FPL asset in my opinion. Whilst Wanyeri is 17 years of age, he's shown a lot of potential, and he's going to start most games for Arsenal on the right-hand side until Saka and Martinelli are back. So I think he's a good punt for the next couple of weeks, but once those players return, which could be in late March to early April, Wanyeri will drop to the bench, but because of his price tag, that won't be an issue for you. Cylindra says, hey Dylan, got one free transfer and 2.2 million in the bank, and I've got 4 options. Which is the best? Number 1, sell Ndiaye to Cunha. Number 2, sell Slot to Arteta or Glasner. Number 3, make both transfers for a -4. And the 4th option is don't make any transfers and just start Hall, Joao Pedro over Ndiaye. I think all options are very solid. Even the number 4 option, going for Lewis Hall, isn't the end of the world. I think that could work fairly well for you. But my current preference out of those transfer plans you've mentioned, it's probably going to be number 2, sell Slot to one of Arteta or Glasner. And I'm in a similar boat, so you'll see my final kind of say on it based on my transfers or lack thereof, and that will be covered in the next hour or two. But at the moment, I would lean towards buying Arteta. Trenix says, I still have the assistant manager chip and want to do bench boost 33 and free hit 34. When do I use the AM? Around game week 35 or 36. So essentially, we should have double game weeks or doubles in game week 36. And if that's the case, you can pick either 35 or 36 to use that chip as well. It's kind of a shame because if you were to use it around game week 32, you could have back-to-back double game weeks like we just had, should I say. For example, I went for Arne Slot in game week 24, and that's 4 games and 2 game weeks for Liverpool. But yeah, in your case, if you really want to use the bench boost in 33 and free hit in 34, I understand that. And I would use the AM chip immediately afterwards in either game week 35 or 36. Hi Dylan, I have 1 free transfer. Should I keep Slot as manager and sell Ahmad to buy Semenyo, or sell Slot for Arteta? Yeah, great question. And I also think it depends a lot on the context of your team. So if you were to keep Ahmad in your squad, presumably he would be benched, but who comes in for him in your starting 11? I think that's what ultimately determines my preference with your transfer plans. But I do like Semenyo. The same goes for Dango Ouattara or Kluivert, who remains my favourite Bournemouth midfielder. At the moment, from what you've said, I would lean towards the midfielder move, but I don't know the context, because if you got like Mykolenko starting instead of Ahmad, I wouldn't mind that, and then going from Slot to Arteta can work very well for you. Welcome Extra HD. James123 says, hello Dylan, buy Vissa or Cunha? I'd rather go for Cunha. Wolves' long-term fixtures are great, and he's also got a very appealing Gameweek 29 fixture in the blank against Southampton away, whilst Brentford face Bournemouth. And then straight afterwards, they've got pretty poor fixtures in my opinion, so I'd rather go for Matheus Cunha. And so Rodgers for Dango, a good move? I think so. But as I've said all week, I've got a feeling that Rodgers could score or do something against Chelsea. He has been very disappointing in the Premier League. In fact, that's 5 blanks in a row in this competition, whilst in the Champions League, he scored a hat-trick in matchday 8. But I would go for Dango Ouattara, yeah. I think that's a good long-term move. And what I like about Bournemouth is they are versatile for any sort of chip strategy you may have, and they cover the blank very well in 29 against Brentford at home, and they've got decent long-term fixtures as well. So yeah, we'll go into FPL Challenge fairly soon, but once again, that's back-to-back weeks for me. My challenge squad has outscored my FPL team, but it shouldn't come as too big of a surprise. At least I got a green arrow in FPL, that's what matters. Ken Back says, hi Dylan, thinking Rodgers out for Dango, although already have Kluivert. Then is Slot to Glasner worth it for a -4, or just do the Rodgers to Dango transfer for free? I'd stick with one free transfer. Whether you decide to change your manager or go from Rodgers to Dango, that's completely up to you. And as I just mentioned, it also depends on context and who would start in Rodgers' place, or in the case of Dango Ouattara, if you don't buy him in, who starts instead. But yeah, it's a close one. I think I wouldn't do the -4 hit for Glasner or Arteta. I don't think any manager's worth a hit this week. Sam says, hi Dylan, I want to transfer Rodgers to Wanyeri, Gakpo to Marmoush, and Pedro to Cunha. Pick 2 of these transfers. I really can't choose. We'll do the last transfer next game week. Yeah, it's about timing as well, right? I think Cunha's a great purchase, but as I mentioned in my Transfers podcast, I think he's a better purchase in Game Week 27 or 29 rather than this week against Bournemouth away. So I'll be honest, Gakpo could still start against Man City, but the frustrating thing with Gakpo right now is if you decide to keep him, you'd be tempted to also hold him for Southampton at home in Game Week 28. But by that stage, we could see him rotated anyway. So I think it's probably best to just offload Gakpo. And my favourite forward to replace him would be Cunha, actually. So I would recommend Gakpo to Cunha instead and do Rodgers to Wanyeri. But even with that move, for example, I don't think you need to sell Rodgers this week. But before Game Week 29 is obviously ideal. And Wanyeri's got a plum fixture, you could say, against West Ham. So if I had to pick, I would say Rodgers to Wanyeri and then Gakpo to Cunha, which might sound a bit strange, but that would be my preference. Ken Back says also start Bruno and bench Joao Pedro. Yeah, I think so. I'm not a big fan of Bruno Fernandes in FPL right now. He's not worth the money, but even against Tottenham Hotspur, he created multiple chances, even a few big opportunities, and it's just that United attack is very blunt. So yeah, the thing with Joao Pedro, great fixture. Is he going to start? I wouldn't rule it out, but he's no longer first choice, it seems. And I think Jorginho Rutter has been playing fairly well, especially in the cup games. So I'd lean towards Bruno Fernandes at the moment. Glasner or Frank for 1 week? I'd go for Glasner because of table bonus. You're not going to get that with Thomas Frank. And ultimately, I would back Brentford to win, but their record against Leicester isn't great. Of course, many of the meetings in the past were when Leicester were a fairly decent side established in the Premier League. That is no longer the case. Broadster3111 says, just on my 2 free transfers for Rodgers to Wanyeri and Slot to Glasner. Yeah, it's going to be very popular to sell Rodgers and Arne Slot this week. I completely get it. I might do something similar myself, and I think Wanyeri is the best 4.6 million midfielder you can pick right now until April, essentially. He's got a lot of talent, but temper your expectations with him. So I actually wouldn't mind starting him this week against West Ham, but then against Nottingham Forest and even possibly United, I would look to bench him if possible. As for Glasner, I think he's the best table bonus manager for Game Week 26. It's high risk, high reward though. I think Crystal Palace have a good record at Craven Cottage, but in the reverse fixture at Selhurst Park, it was a 2-0 win for Fulham, so it's not the easiest of fixtures there. Duarte says, hey Dylan, good afternoon. Start Hall or Mykolenko? Start Marmoush or Rodgers? Yeah, great question, sir, and good afternoon. Good afternoon to you as well. I'd lean towards Mykolenko this week over Lewis Hall, which might sound ridiculous. And the thing that Lewis Hall would have over the Ukrainian left back is the fact he's got multiple avenues to points, which I don't think Mykolenko has. Marmoush or Rodgers is close, but I would lean towards Rodgers. I don't know why, but I've got a feeling about Rodgers this week. Maybe I'm deluded. Start Rodgers or Gordon. This is a very close one as well. I'd pick Gordon, but just about. Yeah, UCL Fantasy I'll cover in my upcoming videos, but basically it wasn't too great. Both knockout rounds were very disappointing. A lot of 50-50 calls, frustration, and ultimately it could have been much better, but we live and learn, right? And I'm fairly confident I can turn things around for the knockout stages because so far it is my worst UCL Fantasy season, but still a decent rank, all things considered, but I still want to do better. ZT Tech says, hey Dylan, how are you? Please choose one. Arteta plus Dango. Number 2, Glasner and Kluivert. And 3, Slot and Dango. All 3 combinations are very solid. I really like Kluivert this week, and I think Dango Ouattara isn't too far off. They're both in my top 10 captains for Gameweek 26. I think Arteta is the best manager this week, or at least the most secure one. But as we've seen with David Moyes in Gameweek 24 or Unai Emery recently, you don't even need wins with a manager eligible for table bonus like Oliver Glasner would be. So I would lean towards Glasner and Kluivert in your case, but they're all solid picks. Jack says, I have one free transfer. Should I sell Slot for Glasner or sell Rodgers for Dango? Yeah, it's a close one. I think from these two, also bearing in mind Blank Gameweek 29 and future doubles and stuff like that, I'd rather have Dango Ouattara and sell Rodgers in this case. But for this week specifically, it's a very difficult one to weigh up because I think if Glasner can get that draw or win, that could be absolutely massive for you. But let's also put into context for those looking to take a hit for a manager change. And I said this in one of my videos, I think the Wildcard podcast. So let's say, for example, Arne Slot gets a 2-2 draw against Man City. You get 3 points for the draw and 2 for the goals scored. That's 5 points overall. And I think that isn't too unrealistic to really expect. Let's say you then go to Arteta for a lot of people and Arsenal get a clean sheet and a 2-0 win. So that's 6 points for the win, 2 points for the goals, and then 2 points for the clean sheet. So that's 10 overall. And then you subtract them, you're only making a 1 point gain if you take a -4 hit, and only 5 points overall with no -4 being taken. So that's why I'm not too keen on managerial hits this week. But for free, it's a different story. And Glasner has the high ceiling. If he can get a victory, then, you know, the sky's the limit with him and he can get 16 plus points very easily. I have to say, though, looking at the long term, I do prefer Dango Ouattara. ARX says bench 1, Hall, Robinson and Trent. Reluctantly, I would bench Lewis Hall at the moment. Bench 1, Robinson, Kirkes, Gabriel, Trent. I would probably bench... Yeah, this is a very close one, but I would lean towards benching Trent. And he did score at the Etihad last time out, and he just scored a goal against Aston Villa, so it's not ideal to do that sort of thing. I think ideally or realistically, a lot of people would bench Robinson, and I get that. Yeah, I think I'd bench Robinson. They both look like each other, but yeah, I'd go for Robinson on the bench, just about. Athava K says, Ahmad out for Trossard, Matoma, Wanyeri, or Gakpo out for Marmoush, Cunha. Well, ultimately, they're both sells, Ahmad and Gakpo, but Ahmad is the bigger priority since he's out for effectively the rest of the season. The thing is, in terms of the players you're buying in, I think Cunha's the best one you can get. So Gakpo to Cunha is just a great long-term move. It also helps you navigate Blank Gameweek 29 without the use of the free hit. And then you can sell Amad Diallo in the coming weeks and then go to Wanyeri at that stage or somebody else, maybe Dango Ouattara or Kluivert. So yeah, if you did mention a Bournemouth midfielder, I would have said sell Amad Diallo first. But from the players you're kind of mentioning, Cunha's my favourite. I'm not sure if I'm going to buy Glasner, mate. The most likely manager change I would probably kind of enforce is Arteta in for Arne Slot. But if I want to go for the jugular and target table bonus and hope for the best there, it would be Oliver Glasner. The last time Palace beat Fulham was in 2020. Yeah, it's a fairly kind of shared record, a lot of draws between them. But yeah, I do think Crystal Palace can get a result at Craven Cottage, but Fulham are a decent side. Very difficult one to kind of target. Thank you, Seller. As he says, give the stream a like if you enjoy it or found it insightful. I will get back to the recent questions. I know a lot of comments are flooding in, but what I want to do is show different screens, starting with the FDR. And Wolves are now top. As I mentioned before, Matheus Cunha is a great transfer in because you've got some excellent long-term fixtures there. Bournemouth, Spurs, Chelsea and Arsenal complete the top 5. And if we look at the bottom teams, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Liverpool, Fulham and Everton. With predicted points in Gameweek 26, Salah remains top despite facing the champions Manchester City. Isak, Palmer, Dango Ouattara and Odegaard complete Fantasy Football Hub's top 5, with Watkins, Trossard, Gabriel, Mbeumo and Semenyo finishing the top 10. With managers, they are very bullish on Arteta and Glasner. Only 0.3 points separates the two, but we also have to consider the fact that Arteta has a higher floor, so that means he kind of guarantees you a certain amount of points, but Glasner's ceiling is way higher with a table bonus. So if he were, let's say he gets a 1-0 win against Fulham, that is 16 points for the win, so 10 points for the baseline table bonus, and 6 points for the win. So that's combined 16 points, and then a point for the goal scored, and then 2 for the clean sheet. That is a massive return there, whilst Arteta would obviously not get those 10 points or additional points for the table bonus. So yeah, it's a difficult one, I think, to weigh up. But ultimately, if I were to buy a manager this week, Arteta or Glasner is the most likely one. Ruud van Nistelrooy is third, which I'm quite surprised by. Juric is fourth, with Iraola completing this top 5 list. And we can skim down. You've got McKenna, Eddie Howe, Postecoglou, Ursula, Thomas Frank, Marco Silva, Vitor Pereira, Guardiola, Emery, David Moyes, the legend, Maresca, Arne Slot, Amorim, Nuno Espirito Santo, and Graham Potter. So yeah, from that list I just mentioned, and it was kind of ranked in order of predicted points. So Graham Potter is eligible for table bonus, of course, facing Arsenal. The same goes for, if we go down, or should I say up this list, Vitor Pereira is also eligible against Bournemouth. The others would include, let's see, yeah, McKenna, Juric, Van Nistelrooy, and Oliver Glasner. Those are the select few managers who can get you those crucial table bonus. With price changes, expect to see a lot of activity overnight. Matheus Cunha is almost destined to go up in price according to livefpl.net. You've also got Dango Ouattara, Mbeumo, Vissa, Kluivert, Beto, Mateta, Kirkes, Gabriel, and Chris Wood. If we also go to the next page, we've got Watkins and Munoz potentially, although that's less likely. They need to reach that 100% threshold in terms of the progress meter you can see. With price falls, you've got Gakpo, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Ndai, Sarr, Lindstrom, Amad Diallo, Kinski, Young, Buonanotte, Davis, Bernardo Silva, Murphy, McAteer, Cher, Hughes, Bruno Fernandes, Ivanilson, Szoboszlai, and Dawson. I put out several polls on my YouTube channel, by the way, and one of them was about my transfer plans, which I covered in my team selection video, and 43% of you voted for Ndai to Cunha as the best move for Gameweek 26 and beyond. In second place, with a quarter of the votes, is Rodgers to Kluivert, and I did add the context. I've got Semenyo in my team already. In number 3 is Slot to Arteta, and the last one is Colwill to Gabriel. A massive upgrade, but maybe not completely needed at this moment in time. I do have Veltman away to Southampton and Mikolenko on my bench at the moment, facing Man United, which might be a mistake. Next up is the choice of manager, and with these image polls on YouTube, you've only got 4 options, basically. I can't add more than that. So I've gone for Glasner, Arteta, Slot, and Iraola, and that is the order of the winners. Glasner with almost half of the votes, Arteta in second, and Slot in third. Let's also look at stats comparison of 2 of the best options in Gameweek 26 in Kluivert and Dango Ouattara. Over the course of the season, the Dutchman has more appearances, and the same goes for goals and assists, but it's quite close, especially on the assist front. With shots as well, it's identical, 50 for the Dutchman and 41 for Dango Ouattara, 35 shots in the box for Kluivert and 32 for his teammate. XG, all of these stats are pretty much similar, but Dango does lead in a few metrics like big chances with 16, big chances created, and expected assists as well. He happens to be cheaper, playing down the middle since Evanilson's injury, and he should be out until March or perhaps even April, which makes Dango very appealing. But once other key players return from injury, I do think Dango is more susceptible to dropping to the bench than Justin Kluivert, who is the penalty taker. And I think that's the key reason why I'd still favour Justin Kluivert, who costs 0.8 million more at the time of this recording. Also, if we look at FPL.team, one of the best websites you can use in Fantasy Premier League, this is what the expected points is for Gameweek 26 with the transfer of Arteta in for Arne Slot, 61.5. If I were to just keep the Dutchman as my manager, the expected points is 60.2. So not a massive gain by going for Arteta, who is actually touted to be the best manager for Gameweek 26, according to FPL.team, Fantasy Football Hub, and all these algorithms I've checked. But there is no formula for success, and you've also got those table bonus, which can be so crucial with this assistant manager chip. Let's also go to FPL Challenge very briefly, and I'll go back to this after the deadline has passed. So in terms of the points I got last week, it was 113, and we've got the manager one yet again in terms of that's the challenge. You pick a manager and a certain amount of players. So in this case, what is it, 10 players? Yeah, and a manager. So Pickford in goal, Kirkes, Robinson, Gabriel, Salah as my captain, Marino, kind of hoping he plays up front for Arsenal there and does heroics, just like he did against Leicester. Kluivert, Maddison, Isak, and Visser. That is my current 11 with Arteta as the chosen manager. So even if I don't buy him with my normal team, I will likely just have him in FPL Challenge. I do want to have, you know, that Arsenal coverage, you know, kind of biased there, but that is the way I'm looking to roll. I'm going to go back to my team for a little bit, answer a few more questions, and then shortly I will be covering some graphics with injury updates and team news, because we did get something from Guardiola today about Erling Haaland, and that could be crucial for those with Liverpool assets like Trent, Salah, and perhaps even Arne Slot. Reece says, Ola Dylan, would you buy Dango or Semenyo? I think for the short term, I think Dango is more appealing because he plays down the middle, but as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I can't help but think once key players come back, and you saw Tavernier obviously score very recently, you could see Dango's minutes kind of shared or maybe taken off from time to time, while Semenyo is kind of nailed on in that Bournemouth team. But until Evanilson returns, I think my favourite would be Dango Ouattara, but not by much. It's very, very close. Hi Dylan, start one, Konate, Mazraoui, Greaves. I have Trent already starting. I would not start Konate and double up on Liverpool defensively, but then again, your alternatives aren't great. I think Mazraoui is the one I'd go for, but Everton are flying. Bruno -4 to Dango or Mbeumo, or keep Bruno. I do recommend selling Bruno Fernandes, but for a hit is a bit of a difficult one. I'd probably keep Bruno Fernandes in this case. Bestie says Ahmad to Wanyeri, Kluivert, or Ndiaye to Cunha. I'd buy Kluivert. Start Cunha or Rodgers. It's a close one, but I would favour Cunha. Hi Dylan, do you change Slot to Brighton manager? I'm probably not going to do that. Brighton, you know, as good as they've been recently, they're very inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get. I expect them to win 3-1 against Southampton, but if you want to go for a manager who's not going to get table bonus, I would go for Arteta or Iraola. And otherwise, you know, I think the likes of Glasner will be more appealing than Hursler because of those crucial table bonus. Everton will win, bookmark this. I don't think that's a big surprise at the moment. They are favourites, actually. I've gone for a 2-0 Everton win, as I'll show you shortly. Start Van Dijk or Howson? Definitely Howson for me. I took a hit to do Slot to McKenna. I hope it goes well for you, but it's very high risk, high reward, and I think a hit for a table bonus manager can really pay off. If it goes wrong, of course, and let's say Spurs win 1-0, then you get 0 points, and that could be a mini disaster, so to speak. But yeah, I hope it goes well for you. I really do. Dylan, the best time to use manager chip? Around Gameweek 32, because Crystal Palace and Newcastle will double in 32 against each other, and then you've got another double Gameweek in 33. Even Newcastle might double in back-to-back Gameweeks there against Ipswich Town, for example. But yeah, around Gameweek 32 for sure. Better or Rodgers? Better. Evanilson is close to return from injury, so Dango's minutes are at risk. That's what I mean. I think Dango is a very short-term punt. So if you are looking to wildcard soon, and if this is not like a big issue for you, I think Dango would be my current preference, but with a kind of long-term lens, I think the answer does change. Thanks for your response. It has been helpful. I appreciate it, Josh. Gordon to Bowen. West Ham playing only in the Premier League once a week. No pressure for them, and Bowen 90-minute man and on penalties. Or keep Gordon. Nobody owns him in my mini-league. I think it also depends on your chip strategy. So if you're free hitting in 29, keeping Anthony Gordon is an option for you because he doubles in Gameweek 32. And he could also double in 33. The thing with Bowen is I wouldn't buy him this week. I know he's got a decent record against Arsenal, but the Gunners would be massive favourites. And in terms of the odds and the bookmakers, I think Arsenal are massive favourites amongst all Premier League teams to win this weekend. So I probably would avoid Bowen for now. Maybe you could make this switch in Game Week 27 or 28. Especially, I think, Game Week 27 against Leicester at home. I think that's a good entry point for Jared Bowen. Kevin Schade going under the radar. Possibly. He scored a hat-trick last time out against Leicester, his upcoming opponent. So, I mean, he's on the thumbnail, technically. And if you look at the kind of players featured, I think Schade's decent, but it's still Mbeumo for me. I know he's been disappointing recently. And I'd be careful with Brentford assets because their fixture in Blank Gameweek 29 is quite poor against Bournemouth away. Then they've got some tough games coming up. So I'd be slightly careful about that. Thank you, Safir. Big up, Dylan. I bought in Cunha for Gakpo. Will probably not transfer out slot for a hit, chasing table bonus. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of taking a hit for a manager this week. If this included a double Gameweek option like Unai Emery last time out or Arne Slot, then yeah, it looks great, but not with the current fixtures and the lack of doubles here. Bench one of Trent, Mikalenko, Munoz. Reluctantly, I would look to bench Munoz. Gakpo out for a -4 hit. It depends on two things. One, who is the replacement? And I would recommend the likes of Chris Wood, Cunha, and potentially Mateta if you aren't free hitting in 29. And the second thing you should think about is if you don't take the hit, and what would be your team? So do you start Gakpo, or in the case you bench him, who comes in for him in the starting 11? That's very crucial. Bench Rodgers or Palmer? I'd bench Rodgers. Mitoma or Mbeumo? For this week, Mitoma. If I'm buying one long term, it's still going to be Mbeumo. It all depends on that as well. How about Jacob Murphy over Mateta? I'd start Mateta personally. Munoz or Robinson or Arnold? Robinson. I'd lean towards Trent. Yeah, I'd still lean towards Trent. I think Liverpool will concede, but Trent's got that attacking potential, which still goes beyond Robinson for me. Best time to triple captain. Maybe Game Week 32 on Isak with that double Game Week. That'd be a decent option for you. If not, you've got doubles in 33 and potentially 36, and we don't know how they're going to land yet fully. We've got an idea, but not a full picture. Tommy Raw says, hi Dylan, start Cunha or Wood? I'd start Chris Wood. It's always difficult to bench any of those players. Hi Dylan, happy to see you. Dango or Wanyeri? Dango. What do you think about Tell? Not quite there yet. He did have some decent stats against United, but with Tottenham Hotspur, you might want to take a risk on Maddison maybe, if he can stay fit, but I probably wouldn't invest in Tottenham right now. No, not for me. Dylan Schade, good option. Yeah, he's a decent option. If you're looking for a differential, I think Schade this week is brilliant. He scored a hat-trick against Leicester last time out, so I'm not against it at all. Hi Dylan, it's deadline day. I did Sonta Mitoma and Pedro Cunha at 2 AM this morning. Thoughts? Stuck with Slot, Captain Mbeumo. It might be a good thing to stick with Arne Slot. If Liverpool get that victory, that will be absolutely massive for them psychologically, but there's going to be a lot of pressure, I think, on the Reds, and they can deal with it, and they are the better team than Man City, but yeah, with your transfers themselves, I'm very happy with them, especially Cunha. That's a great long-term acquisition. Not a big fan of Welbeck beyond Game Week 26. He is in my top 10 captains for this game week, but only just, and long-term, I think there are better forwards like Cunha and Chris Wood, not to mention Jean-Philippe Mateta. So before I go back to your questions, and you can rewind at any point and pause, then go back to the live section to have your questions answered. So there have been some things covered like the FDR, the fixture difficulty rating, predicted points for managers and players, and price changes. I'll go back to them at some stage in this stream, but what I want to do now is go for some predictions and stuff like that. So I've made a few modifications, but not too many. Leicester 1, Brentford 2 is what I'm currently sticking with. Everton 2, Man United 0. Arsenal 1, West Ham 0. I did say 2-1 originally, so we'll see how that ages. Bournemouth 3, Wolves 1. I'm quite confident with that prediction. Fulham 2, Crystal Palace 2. Ipswich Town 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Southampton 1, Brighton 3. Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 1. Newcastle 2, Nottingham Forest 1. And then Manchester City 1, Liverpool 1. Those are my predictions at the moment. You can also let me know your thoughts in the live chat, particularly after the deadline has passed. So in terms of team weaknesses, this is something I haven't shown you this week throughout all the videos. So Leicester are conceding a lot of chances and shots in all areas of the pitch, but especially in central positions, just like Southampton last week and that's where I highlighted Justin Kluivert, who got an assist in that game. But I think the one that I really think could benefit from the way Leicester have kind of conceded chances under Ruud van Nistelrooy since Game Week 14 is Visser. So the kind of blue circles you see is the shots that Leicester have conceded since Game Week 14, and the heat map, the heat map you see is actually the shot volume that Visser has had this season from Game Week 1 all the way until now. And I think this could be a perfect fixture for him. He did score, I think, in the reverse fixture, although Schade was the hero on that day. But if Visser plays down the middle, he would be my preference over Bryan Mbeumo, and that's why he features in my top 10 captaincy options, unlike the Cameroonian winger. And before I get to that captaincy list, let's talk about the clean sheet and over 2 goals odds. Arsenal are top, despite their blunt attacking line, with 58% chance of keeping a clean sheet and 45% chance of scoring over 2 goals. I'd probably put the clean sheet odds the highest for Arsenal of any team this week, but I think Brighton would have a better chance of scoring more than 2 goals compared to the Gunners. But Brighton are second, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Spurs and Brentford complete the top 6. This is according to Drafttown, because other websites and I think the bookmakers would have a slightly different list here. I think Liverpool are still in the top 5, for example, for scoring over 2 goals. Now, in last place is West Ham with a 10% chance of a clean sheet and 4% chance of scoring over 2 goals. Hopefully, Drafttown are correct. But moving on to the top 10 captaincy options, and there are some big surprises in here and massive differentials. We have Mohamed Salah in first place, as we usually do, but we've got some very different names, even in second place. Justin Kluivert, as good as he's been all season, he's never really featured this high up in any of my captaincy lists, but he did score a hat-trick the last time he played Wolves, all of them from penalties. He set a Premier League first, actually, in the competition's history. Isak is third, although that is definitely debatable, and I've gone for Matoma and Danga Ouattara in the top 5. Maddison, Palmer, Beto, Visser and Welbeck complete the top 10, and you might be thinking, where is, let's say, Mbeumo? He should be higher, and that's certainly valid. Maybe you'd point towards a differential like Schade, or perhaps Erling Haaland, who is doubtful against Liverpool, but he wasn't going to make the top 10 captaincy list anyway, in my opinion. And also Chris Wood, you could say, I think he definitely deserves a mention. He scored a hat-trick the last time he played at St James's Park. A lot of hat-tricks being mentioned, of course. Hopefully we get one, and it's someone in our actual FPL teams this weekend. But let's go through some injury updates, which we've gone this morning. So let's start off with Fabian Hurstler and Lewis Dunk. So these are covered in order of basic submission. These are the earliest updates we got today from the Friday press conferences. So Hurstler said the following on Lewis Dunk: "It is an injury, an issue where I can't say it will take 2 weeks, it will take 3 weeks. Everyone who knows Lewis, he is trying hard to get back on the training pitch as quick as possible. But at the moment, he has a lot of pain and we really have to go day to day. It is an area near the ribs, so I think everyone who had something with the ribs knows it can be painful. We really have to go day by day because I think it can also turn quickly and then he can be an option maybe the next week already." With Enzo Maresca and Chelsea, he said, "We don't have any updates on the injuries. We don't have additional injuries. Noni Madueke will be out until the international break, probably. Probably after the international break, we can have most of the players back, maybe all of them. For us, it can be a big boost." So yeah, that is the updates for Brighton and Chelsea. Next up is Man City, which could be very crucial for our FPL teams, especially those that have doubled or tripled up on Liverpool. So Guardiola said the following on Haaland's fitness: "I don't know yet. Tomorrow we'll know it. I don't know yet. Yeah, maybe I'm hopeful, but I don't know because we don't train today. Until tomorrow, he will test." So yeah, a lot of don'ts there from Pep Guardiola. And he said the following on John Stones: "He's injured, a difficult one. Next hours, days, we'll know if he needs surgery or not. Yeah, a long period out. Like Manu Akanji, it's the quadriceps." So hopefully John Stones does recover soon, and Man City have suffered yet another blow to their extensive injury list this season. And with Arsenal, this is the team news from Arteta. The ones that are long-term remain unavailable, so he's referring to Kai Havertz, Gabriel Martinelli, and Bukayo Saka, and also Tomiyasu, who is reportedly out until December. I really hope that surgery helps him to really get over these injuries, these reoccurrences of the knee problems he's had, and he can come back a better player because he's a very solid player there for Arsenal. He also said Ben White is ready to play. Whether he is ready to start or not, we will decide tomorrow. And I also included a quote on Mikel Merino playing up front. Arteta's playing a bit coy here, a bit intelligent, not giving anything away. I still think Merino will probably play up front. I mean, he scored a brace off the bench when Arsenal struggled to score against Leicester for over 80 minutes. So I'd be shocked if Merino didn't play up front once again for Arsenal this season. So next up, we've got more injury updates, and we have Ruben Amorim this time out. So he said, it's more positive than last week at least. We didn't lose players, we recovered players. Christian Eriksen, Kobe Mainu, and Leri Yoro return. With Chris, it was a misunderstanding. I want to be really clear on that. He's healthy and ready to play. It was my limitation in explaining the injury. I felt the week was really good. I see things in training, but sometimes it's hard to pass that to the game. I feel they're improving. I hope tomorrow is another opportunity to show a better performance. And Amorim also said the following on other injuries. It's hard to know. Amad Diallo is out for a long time. Mason Mount and Luke Shaw continue to recover. I don't have a day. As for Collier, the youngster, he seems to be the closest one, but not now. He's recovering. We'll have to adapt to use the players we have. And Bayendir and Tom Heaton are recovering. We don't have a day. So pretty much quite consistent with all of those injury updates as well. So with Nottingham Forest, our knee, kind of a reoccurring problem here. So this is what Nuno Espirito Santo said. Yes, it is clear on the concussion protocol, so he's available. He'll have to wear a mask, but he is available. He is trying to get used to it. No other injuries, assessing players the normal. Whilst Vitor Pereira, another Portuguese coach, said, good, we did good work and we are ready for the game. So Agbadu will be out for some games, but that's information that I've got. But that's the information I've got. Rodrigo Gomez is out. Sam Johnston is in. Strand Larsen started to train with the team, and he's trying to come back to improve his condition physically, mentally, and tactically. So only a few updates left. There might be some that come out whilst I'm speaking in this stream, and if there are any, I'll cover them as well later in this video. So Marco Silva said, no fresh injuries, still the same. Lukic is going to be ready to be in contention. The same three are out: Kenny Tete, Harry Wilson, and Reece Nelson. Whilst with Oliver Glasner and Eze, it was a good week for him personally, and he's getting better and better with his foot. I think he's ready to start against Fulham. The same as last week, all players are fit, everyone trained the whole week, it's good. So maybe that is exactly what you needed. Something is wrong there, a light bulb has struck, and you are now going to go for Oliver Glasner as your assistant manager. That's very good news there on all fronts. Ange Postecoglou said this on the Tottenham team: no new concerns from last week, everyone has got through the week okay. The other guys are ticking along well. We've got 2 games in quick succession in the league, and this is a good opportunity to give match minutes to guys who have been out for a while. We saw Brennan Johnson, Odobert, and Vicario come back last week. Maddison as well. The doggy, we need to give him some match minutes. We've got a week until the next European game, and that's about the time we're hoping for guys like Romero and Van der Ven in particular. They should be in and around that mark. Richarlison and Solanke are not too far behind. As for returning players, he also said the 3 guys, Danso, Heung-min Son, and Bentancur, who picked up knocks last week, are all good. We've had a full week to recover and prepare. So Heung-min Son could be a nice captaincy option for Gameweek 26. I still don't recommend him as a long-term transfer, but I think that could work fairly well, actually, for those that invest. David Moyes said with Everton, we've got Alcaraz and Decore both fit at the moment. That gives us a decision to make. I'll need both of them. We are really short of numbers here. We've got 9 or 10 players out injured. Ndai has been taking injections, and we're quite positive that he's working hard to get back quickly. So we're hoping we can get him back maybe before the time that we thought. But they're not fit just now. So maybe Ndai, I mean, this is just me saying it, could be back for Gameweek 27 or 28. It's certainly not a priority transfer for a lot of people. But yeah, that is good news there for Everton, who have a lot of injury problems overall. Unai Emery said this about Aston Villa: we are going to train this evening because we played on Wednesday. Yesterday, we trained in the morning. Ezri Konsa did compensation work with the players. Today, I will test him as well. In case he is feeling good, he will be in the squad. To play or not, I will decide. I don't know today, evening, or tomorrow morning. Leon Bailey trained yesterday, and the same like Konsa. I think in case he's training today normally, he'll be available to be in the squad and the possibility to play tomorrow. So that pretty much rounds off all the injuries. We've got just 2 more here on screen, and then afterwards we are pretty much up to date with everything that's been covered in the press conferences on Friday. So with Ipswich Town, Kieran McKenna said, Sam Morsey and Leif Davis both trained today. as well as Schmodix. They are all available for the squad. Connor Chaplin is trained, but is a little bit behind. We have got a decision to make on that one. And he also was very complimentary about Palmer, who made his Premier League debut in Gameweek 25 against Aston Villa and made some stunning saves to deny the likes of Morgan Rogers, to the agony of those Rogers owners like myself. But it is what it is, right? And I have to say, fair play. It was a great goalkeeper performance. But that is all the injury updates that you really need. Let's go back to my team and your questions. Hopefully that does cover a lot of your concerns about certain players. Dango, Isak or Kluivert captain. I did show you a top 10 list literally like 10-15 minutes ago. So I did put Kluivert second, Isak third, and Dango in fifth. So that kind of covers that as well. Is it too shaky to captain Isak this week? Well, if you think he's the highest scoring player this week, you're really bullish on him, I'd go for it. He's top 3 for me in my captaincy list, and he got 11 points the last time he played Forest. So I think that's a decent shout, actually. Thank you, Napstars, for the super chat. Very generous of you. Hi, bench 2, Trent, Gavardiol, Timber, Hall, Munoz. I definitely bench Gavardiol, so I've got no concerns about that. I know he's really good going forward, but with the way City are defending, facing the best team in the league, one of the best in Europe, I'd bench Gavardiol. The other one is close. I think it's between Lewis Hall and Munoz to bench, and I think I would bench Munoz. This could age terribly, and I really hope it doesn't, but I would start Trent Alexander-Arnold, Timber, and Lewis Hall. Juan says Watkins to Cunha plus Ahmad to Mbumo, or Moreno for a -4, or Slot to Arteta or Glasner, or -8 to do it all. I'm not a big fan of taking a hit for a manager, especially Slot to Arteta. I think that's a move to make for free, if I'm being honest. So from those options, I think Ahmad to Mbumo, if you can afford that, that is perfect. If you need to sell Watkins to Cunha to make it happen, then fair enough, I'd buy Cunha. So that would be my suggestion, but I wouldn't do Slot to Arteta for a hit. Should I start Smith Rowe or Rodgers? Yeah, interesting question. I would lean towards Rodgers this week, despite his recent frustrations. Emery to another AM for free, however, effectively a -4 if I'm making 2 transfers next week. Thoughts? Yeah, I get that. Not ideal, but I would consider Arteta or Iraola if you want to play it safe. Arteta's my favourite one. For table bonus, I would go for Oliver Glasner, so it really depends how you want to approach it. I think Fulham Palace will be 2-2, and in that case, it's a decent return for Glasner. You would get 3 points for the draw, 6 additional points for the table bonus draw, and you would get 2 points for the goal scored. Penguino says, hey Dylan, how's it going? Start free. Let me just go back to your question. Out of Palmer, Wanyeri, Wood, Isak, Mateta. I know Palmer's been poor recently, but I would not be benching him. This is really difficult, though. I have to bench 2 of these players. Oh, that's... Reluctantly, I would probably bench Wanyeri and possibly Mateta, but the form he's in, that's so difficult for me to say. Start Foden or Trent? Trent. Start Gordon or Rodgers? Sell one of them for a hit. I'd lean towards Gordon, but not by much. I don't think you need to sell any of them for a hit just yet. As good as Kluivert is, and even Matoma this week, I'd stick with what you have for now. Should I start Flecking or Sells? I'd probably go for Flecking this week. It's one of the few times I'd say that because of the fixture. Leicester have really struggled to score goals at times, and I think Brentford have looked more solid in recent weeks. So, yeah, I would probably go for Flecken. Start Mikalenko or Colwill? Mikalenko for sure. Thank you, Mitra. Play Rodgers or Rodgers to Kluivert or Ndai to Beto. I think Rodgers can do well this week, but if you can go to Kluivert for free, yeah, I really like the look of that. I'd buy Kluivert. Really good for all chip strategies. That's why Bournemouth are very appealing to me. Currently have Palmer bench for Rodgers, but I'm thinking of transferring him out to Wanyeri. Will likely play 2 free times until Gameweek 31. Well, of course, you're flying in FPL right now. Top 12 in the world, I think it is. But I wouldn't bench Cole Palmer. Even for Wanyeri, as good as he is, and I rate him highly, I would start Cole Palmer, and I would not be selling him. Is it worth doing AM now? If I haven't done it yet, I'd hold it. So in Gameweek 32, Newcastle and Crystal Palace will double. And in Gameweek 33, you'll have another double game week, just like we had with Game Week 24 and 25. That is the perfect sort of time to use the assistant manager. The only downside to it is you can't bench boost in 33 or triple captain around that time, because once you activate the assistant manager, it will be active for 3 game weeks and you can't use any other chip in that time frame. But I would say Game Week 33 is ideal. Start Sells or Fabianski? Sells. Fabianski won't even start anyway. It's Areola at the moment. Gakpo start? It's possible. I wouldn't rule it out, but I think it's a sell anyway. Gordon to Mbumo? Probably yes. Just bear in mind that after Game Week 29, Brentford's fixtures are quite mixed bag, and even in Game Week 29, facing Bournemouth away isn't easy. Kluivert or Dango? I still prefer Kluivert. He's on penalties and he's playing close to 90 minutes on most occasions. I know it was only 76 minutes in Game Week 25, but I think with Dango, once you've got Evanilson coming back in a couple of weeks' time, maybe in April, but I think March is a possibility. I think Dango could drop to the bench. It's more likely than Kluivert anyway. Ursula, Frank and Moyes are top 3 choice for my manager. They're solid picks on paper. I get your thinking there, but I still think Arteta is a bit of a safer pick. That doesn't mean better necessarily, but I think he guarantees you a certain amount of points. But we'll see. If Arsenal lose 2-0 again against West Ham, then that will definitely be untrue. Liam Campbell says, hi Dylan, 1 free transfer. Would you do Emery to Arteta or Gakpo to Cunha or Elanga to Semenyo? They're all brilliant moves. My favourite is going to be Arteta from those 3. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone can hear me. Make sure you haven't, muted something, on your browser, but everything's working well. Start Murphy or Rodgers? I would go for Morgan Rodgers. Between Rodgers, Watkins and Mateta, who would you bench? I think from those 3 it's probably Rodgers, but I said pretty much in all of my videos and a lot of times today, I have a feeling Rodgers could do something. Jose the Special Mo says, hi Dylan, I wish you lots of points. Likewise, hopefully you do very well. Which 2 defenders will you bench? Howson, Munoz, Robinson or Trent? I would bench Munoz. This is a difficult one because I think Liverpool will concede, but Trent is the sort of player you never want to bench. He scored at the Etihad last time out. So reluctantly, I'd probably bench Howson and Munoz. Start 1 out of Hall, Mikalenko and Castagna, says Presna Voda. Or Presna. I'd lean towards Mikalenko. I have gone for 2-0 in that Everton United game. Really close though, and I have to say the Toffees have a terrible record against Manchester United. Should I start Collins or Konate? I'd lean towards Collins in this case. I want to replace Murphy. Already have Salah, Kulusevski, Palmer, Kluivert. Any suggestions? Free hit 29. Oh, no free hit in 29. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a Bournemouth midfielder like Dango Ouattara. Even Matoma is a very nice punt, but he does face City in Game Week 29, which might not be your favourite. So yeah, I'd say one of Dango Ouattara, Wanyeri or Matoma. That would be my Murphy replacement. It also depends on your budget, which I don't know exactly what it is. But my favourite would be Dango at the moment. It is quite short term, I will admit. If Palmer keeps the poor performances, will you sell him in the future? If he blanks in the next 3 games and doesn't do anything against Southampton or Leicester, I mean, I'd be shocked if that happened. I really think he will do something. But let's say if he didn't, then yeah, he'd be on the chopping block, probably after Game Week 29. But the thing is, Chelsea have good fixtures after that blank game week. That's the problem with it. So yeah, it's a tough one, but I think I'll still keep Palmer. It depends on the context as well, but I think a big return is incoming. Best forward for Game Week 26 to 28. Probably Mateta. Yeah. Thank you, Thunder11. Hey Dylan, do you have any news on Joao Pedro? He has a good fixture against Southampton, but unfortunately got benched last match. No news really, but it looks like he's not first choice anymore. Jorginho Rota is effectively playing in the same position, and he's been very impressive in recent games, particularly in the FA Cup. So I don't think Joao Pedro starts, but he's a funny one. Even off the bench, he can get a big return when you least expect him to. When a lot of people seem to bench him or sell him, he just comes up with the goods. So yeah, Joao Pedro's a funny one, but I'd completely avoid him long term. Who do you suggest starting? Beto, Isak, Joao Pedro? I'd suggest benching Joao Pedro right now. Hi Dylan, which one do I start? Konate, Mazraoui or Greaves? I covered your question earlier, Eddie. I would start Mazraoui reluctantly. if possible, I would recommend a transfer in that defensive line. With McKenna, he did win against Tottenham Hotspur earlier this season, but they're getting some key players back. Vicario made a massive difference against United last week, and I think Ipswich Town will lose this one. They've got 4 consecutive Premier League wins against Tottenham, dating back to 2000, but I think in the here and now, Spurs are the big favourites to win. Gabriel says, hi Dylan, bench one of Isak, Wood, Palmer, Wanyeri. As much as he's, one of my favourite players in the Prem right now, I would bench Wanyeri. Yeah. DRK34 says, Team Gabriel, Van Dijk, Branthwaite, Colwill, Salah, Palmer, Gordon, Murphy, Rogers, Jimenez. Wood, Isak, AM slot, any changes required, suggested, 5 free transfers. You're in a good position with the amount of transfers available, but you might also point towards saving some of them for Blank Gameweek 29. So don't go gung-ho and use all 5 of them. I try to be very conscious of your transfers. I would consider slot to Arteta, and if you want to go for the jugular, I think Glasner's the best table bonus eligible manager. As for your 50-man squad, I think Gordon to Kluivert looks really promising. I think that's a great transfer. Your front line is solid. You don't need to change it just yet. I think Cunha in for Jimenez might be a possibility for you before Gameweek 29, but you don't need to make that transfer now. So I would say Gordon to Kluivert, slot to Arteta or Glasner, and I think you're good to go for now. So with your defenders, you'd start Gabriel. I think Branthwaite is fine. Maybe you make a defender transfer. Maybe. You can go to Howson or Kirkes. So use 2 or 3 transfers, optimize your defensive line, change your manager, in my opinion, but that's not absolutely necessary, and do Gordon to Kluivert, and I think you're in a very solid position. You might even consider starting Gordon, keeping him for now, and sell Murphy instead. I think that looks really promising. Yeah, from those 2, mate, I'd start Sells. Fabianski doesn't even start for West Ham anyway, and he's playing Arsenal away. And Mikalenko or Trent, I'd still go for Trent. Rogers to Matoma and Ndai to Vardy, Welbeck, 2 free transfers. I wouldn't be buying Welbeck. He is 10th in my captaincy list, but that's because of Southampton, nothing else really. I don't think Welbeck is a better purchase than Mateta, Cunha, Chris Wood, and several others, in my opinion. City says, Rogers to Wanyeri, Gakpo to Mateta for a hit, and buy Gakpo or buy back Gakpo, or buy Wood, Cunha, Marmoush, and Gameweek 28 for Joao Pedro. I am on free hit 29. The thing is with Gakpo, why would you buy him back? For Gameweek 28 against Southampton, there is a possibility he's benched for that game week. Liverpool don't need to go for the strongest team there. They can still get the win quite easily. As for your first 3 transfers, they're very good. I like Mateta a lot for the next 3 game weeks. And because you're free hitting in 29, I think he's a perfect transfer. Jean-Philippe Mateta. The fixtures afterwards aren't great. I know Southampton away is in Gameweek 30, but then you look at 31 to 34. Palace have some fairly tough fixtures, but it is kind of compensated with that double game week in 32. So yeah, great transfers overall. I do like the look of them. I would still argue that Rogers to Wanyeri isn't absolutely needed right now, and my favourite Rogers replacement is still going to be a Bournemouth mid. Upo says bench 2, Trent, Mikalenko, Howson, Rogers, Wood, and Jimenez. Yeah, I think from these it would be Mikalenko and possibly Rogers on the bench, but that is a big benching dilemma in my opinion. Really close. It could go down in so many different ways, but that's what I'd currently go for. Welcome to Stapaki. Yeah, I'm not really feeling Tell at the moment, and I said this before, I wouldn't buy Tottenham assets right now. If you wanted a punt this week, I think Maddison is worth it, but beyond that, I just don't think Tottenham are really worth the investment until we see consistency from them. I know they've won back-to-back Premier League games with clean sheets, but I'd still hold your horses. Start Rogers or Hall? Rogers. Nikolai says, Ndai to Cunha and Gordon to Dango or Roll. Who do I then bench between Cunha, Wood, and Dango? Yeah, great transfers in, but you're going to actually cause some benching headaches there. I wouldn't want to bench any of Cunha, Wood, or Dango, but if you were to make the moves, I think Cunha would be on the bench reluctantly. I think the best thing for you to do is probably Roll. Yeah, I think Roll, and you can always buy Cunha in Gameweek 27 or 29. Hi Dylan, who's on the bench, Robinson or Hall? I'd start Robinson. Michelu says, hello, Gakpo to Cunha for a hit and bench Joao Pedro, or play Pedro and transfer next game week. I don't mind the Cunha move, even for a hit, looking at the long term, but I think this week he is benchable to a certain extent. I'd probably go for Cunha for a hit. Leandro Trossard over Mateta. I'd still favour Mateta. It's just the Arsenal attack is very blunt. Trossard has shown a degree of consistency in the recent matches, but yes, Mateta for me. Would you still be bringing in Mbeumo still, or just leave him? No free hit 29. I'd probably not bring him in, no. Some people would argue in a free hit team for Gameweek 29, Mbeumo features, but it's not clear cut for me. It's not a great fixture against Bournemouth away. I would actually favour those Cherries midfielders instead, actually. So yeah, it just depends on the context of your team, but I don't think you need Mbeumo necessarily. If you've got him, definitely keep him. I don't think he's a purchase though. Could you get Slot out for a hit? If so, for who? I'm not a big fan of taking a hit for Arne Slot out. I think a free transfer is fine, but I've broken it down many times this week. You know, if Arteta gets a 2-0 win, you get 10 points from him. And if Arne Slot gets a 2-2 draw against Man City, it's 5 points. With a hit, you gain 1 point. Is it worth it? Not in my opinion. Now, if you were to go for a Oliver Glasner and you get a win or draw with table bonus, then the ceiling is very high, particularly with a win, of course, but it's still high risk, high reward. And with the hit, is it worth it? In a lot of cases, I don't think it is. Dango or Kluivert? Kluivert. As if Anderson is not far from return, even if he wasn't, I'd still favour Kluivert. He's on penalties. He's been the most consistent Bournemouth asset throughout the entire season. I think the best manager this week is Arteta, but if you want to go for table bonus and the highest ceiling, Oliver Glasner's my favourite there. So I think those are the top two. Arteta is my slight preference in number one. Hey Dylan, start Munoz or Mikalenko. I'd favour Mikalenko just about. Wood or Robinson, who to bench? Robinson reluctantly. Yeah, the captains have been covered already. I'll probably go for it 1 or 2 more times in this video with the graphics, but I did say Salah first, Kluivert second, Isak third. City says, I already have Danga from Gameweek 23, and I'm getting Rodgers because he helps me fund JP to Cunha, Marmush, Wood, Gakpo. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Start one, Bruno or Wanyeri. It's a close one. I'd go for Bruno Fernandes. Beto, Rodgers. Yeah, I'd start Beto, if that's your question. Transfer Slot or not? If you can do it for free, then yes, but I wouldn't do it for a hit. It's just not worthwhile. Thank you, Juniper. Thank you, Islam, as well. Not for me, Lucas. I wouldn't start Trossard over Mateta. If you feel differently, back your gut, but I'm not there. Hey, Dylan, do you reckon Delap scores against Tottenham? Yeah, it's possible. He got a goal and assist at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Yeah, he scored against some big teams this season. Aston Villa, 3 goals in 2 matches. Against Chelsea in the home match for a penalty. Yeah, I think Delap scores. I've gone for 2-1 Tottenham, though. Ali says, hi Dylan, bench one of Gabriel, Munoz, Hall, Trent. Yeah, from those options, I would bench Munoz. Reluctantly. Is it a must-buy? No. That's what I mean. I don't think any manager is a particular standout this week. I think in the last couple, you've had Arne Slot and David Moyes. They were the standouts. But, yeah. I just think Arteta's number 1, but not by much. It's really close. Emery to Arteta, Iriola or Roll. Yeah, I'd do it. But only for free, not for a hit. Yeah, no, not for me. I wouldn't sell Slot for a hit. Might be crazy, but I'm betting against Salah. I've benched him. I'm playing Bruno captain. Your thoughts? Okay, going against Salah for the captaincy this week is viable. I said it all week. I think it's a nice opportunity to go against him. But benching him, have you seen his returns this season, mate? In 14 away matches, he has produced double-digit hauls in 11 of them. He's on course for 400 plus FPL points. And also that Man City defence, have you seen it? Shipped in 5 to Arsenal. 6 against, Real Madrid in 2 matches. I would not be benching Mohamed Salah under any circumstances. But FPL is about playing the way you want to. If you bench him and, you know, your replacement for Salah does really well, you'll be laughing. And ultimately, you got to back your gut and make your own decisions. And, you know, you could definitely say you're the opposite of a sheep. You're going against the crowd. But I just don't think, logically speaking, it makes sense to bench Salah. Andrea says, got Kinski, who to go for? 4.9 million goalkeeper, not Kepa or Henderson. Yeah, difficult one. There aren't many standouts. My favourites would be Raya, Sells and Pickford, who are all more expensive than what you're saying. So I'll have a think about that one. I'll get back to you on it. But yeah, there is going to be a decent choice in there, since of course you did exclude Henderson. And yeah, not Kepa. Okay. Thank you, Ahmed, for the super chat. 1 free transfer, sticking with Slot as AM. Have Kluivert and Dango with Salah captain. Palmer and Isak up front with Wood. Number 1, Rodgers to Mbumo. Or 2, Ndai to Cunha. In the long term, I think Cunha is the best transfer. For this week specifically, Mbumo against Leicester looks very appealing. I think from these options, though, I would do Ndai to Cunha. Yeah, looking at the long term as well, that will be my preference. Sticking with Slot as AM, good luck. Hopefully it goes well for you. And it's close, but number 2 is my favourite transfer from the lot. So if there are any suggestions in the live chat in terms of the best 4.9 million goalkeeper or under who isn't Henderson or Kepa, then I'd like to see your thoughts, actually. Let's see who I can come up with. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of most of them, to be quite honest with you. Difficult. I'm not going to say Flecken, am I? Decent medium-term fixtures or short-term, but then they've got a rough patch between Gameweek 30 to 34, actually. Yeah, Flecken, do I really say him? It's just not much to choose from. It really isn't. Oh dear, this is kind of terrible. But yeah, I might say that, actually. Dubravka blanks in 29. He's got Liverpool and Forest over the next 2, so you've also got Nick Pope knocking on the door potentially. Yeah, that's my current suggestion. It would be Flecken. But ultimately, I've been very consistent on this. My favourite 3 goalkeepers would be Sells, Pickford and Raya. Number 1 is probably between the first 2, but Raya could be a very good investment, I think, in the long term. So hopefully that does help you there. So let's get the likes up. We have shown a lot of graphics, answered hundreds of questions. So let's try to get this stream to over 200 likes. It'd be greatly appreciated. We have 32,000 subscribers in the last deadline stream for UCL Fantasy. And we'll be hitting new goals very soon. 33k is the next objective. Thank you to those that have sent in super chats, that have commented, and also liked the video. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Yeah, building for Gameweek 29 without the wild card. We'll have 12 by then. Oh, without the free hit. Yeah. Fair enough. It's possible, but you have to be very conservative and strategic with your transfers if you don't have that free hit. Yeah, Dubravka's a good suggestion. It's just, I don't know. It also depends on that person's chip strategy, right? If they're free hitting in 29, then Dubravka's a nice suggestion, to be fair. Wildcard in 31, 32. Yeah, look, that's not a bad option. I've said in the last couple of videos, I think the window to wildcard is between Gameweek 30 and 34. Mbumo, Kluivert or Salah captain? Salah's first for me. Mbumo isn't in the top 10, but that's definitely a contentious decision. And Kluivert is second. So I'm getting a lot of captaincy questions at the moment, so it might be worth going to the graphics one more time. So these are my predictions. I'll let it play out. There's also a few other slides that I'll briefly commentate over, but I've already done it earlier in this stream. And I'll go back to these predictions probably after the deadline has passed. So with team weakness, Leicester concede a lot of chances down the middle, especially since Ruud van Nistelrooy was appointed in Gameweek 14. And if we look at the heat map for shots, Visser is in a prime position, I think, in terms of when you compare it to the chances that Leicester concede over the course of the season. So the blue circles indicate the chances Leicester have conceded, and the heat map is for Visser and his shots in this campaign. But if we now look at the odds for clean sheets and over 2 goals, Arsenal, Brighton, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Spurs and Brentford complete the top 6, whilst West Ham are in last place. If you disagree, let me know. These are according to Draft Hound. As for the captaincy rankings, though, they are all me. So if it goes wrong, you can blame me. You could definitely say. But I think Salah, despite being top in this list, is still the best captain. But it's a nice opportunity to go against him. I think you have an opportunity here in Gameweek 26. If I had Kluivert, I'd be very tempted to go for him instead. Isak is third. Mitoma, Dango, Maddison, Palmer, Beto, Visser and Welbeck complete the top 10. There are a few contentious ones and debatable kind of selections. Maybe Mbumo over Welbeck. I could definitely see that. But in general, I think it's a nice balance. You've got some differentials in there some informed players like Beto, and I think Salah still comes out on top. And if you have missed it, we did get quite a lot of injury updates today. I'm not going to read them out since I've done it already, and you can pause it and see for yourself. But the biggest one to look out for is Erling Haaland. So basically, Pep Guardiola said we don't know, but tomorrow we will know for sure if Erling Haaland is available. So that is the big news, of course, coming out of today's press conferences. The rest, not too many real updates, you could say. A few players coming back for certain teams, and they're all covered on screen. And you can go to the Premier League website and maybe see a few more. I'm pretty sure a few have been released since I've been going live. So yeah, it might be worth having a look at the Premier League website as well. So yeah, once this is done, I'll go back to my FPL team. And yeah, maybe one more time I'll go through these graphics. But of course, they have been covered a few times actually throughout the duration of this stream. Beto or Rogers? Beto. Mahuri says Ama to Wanyeri. Let me just get your comment up again. And thank you, Keith, for moderating the chat. Massively appreciated. So just try to be patient. Your questions will be answered. Any repeat questions or spamming may be skipped, especially spamming. That could also result in you-know-what. Horterhausen, free Alisson to Kepa. I think from those options, my favourite is Amata Wanyeri. And you can always buy Hausen before Gameweek 29. That's a nice Lewis Hall replacement. Captain Salah or Isak, still Salah for me. Twan says, hi Dylan, Mbuma or Watkins or Cunha. For this week, it's probably Mbuma. Hi Dylan, just joined. Emery saved me last Gameweek after captaining Rodgers. Is Gakpo fine to start? We haven't got any updates about Gakpo being ready to start, but Arne Slot said before the Aston Villa game that he's out for that match, but he's going to return very soon. I think he's going to be in the squad against Man City, but I'm not entirely sure if he starts. That all depends on the late fitness tests. I think there will be one. I'd probably say, if I had to lean one way or the other, I think Gakpo does start, but I wouldn't be confident enough to bank on it, and I still think he's a sell, because when you get to those appealing fixtures like Southampton at home in Gameweek 28, I think Gakpo could be benched by then. Would Palmer Isak bench one? I don't like it. I'll be quite honest with you. I'd recommend starting all three of them, but to bench one, it's probably going to be Chris Wood, which could age like milk. Emery to Arteta or Glasner for a hit? I'd keep Emery. If you still want to do it, I think in this case, you just go all out with the hit and you target table bonus, because if Glasner gets a win, you get a massive score, 17 points and above, basically. Yusuf says, Ndai to Vissa and start Vissa. Fight over Rodgers or hold and die and play Rodgers. Yeah, Vissa looks really good for this week. He was highlighted in the heat map section earlier. I'm not a huge fan of buying him in now, though. I know that might sound contradictory, I get it, but when you're also looking at Blank Gameweek 29 and the upcoming fixtures, I think Cunha, Chris Wood, and Jean-Philippe Mateta are even better options. In the case of Mateta, I'd only buy him if you can bench him in Gameweek 29 or you're just free hitting, so it's not a big issue to buy Palace or Newcastle players. Play Wood or Rodgers, I'd play Chris Wood. Start two out of Trent, Hall, and Kirkes. Reluctantly, I'd bench Lewis Hall. Very close one, though. Hey Dylan, start three. Hall, Mikalenko, Greaves, Kanate, Aina. I would bench Kanate and Greaves. So I'd start Lewis Hall, Mikalenko, and Aina. Would it be worth to take a hit for Rodgers to Wanyeri or Jimenez Wood to Cunha? No. From Jimenez and Rodgers, really close. I'm going to stick with Rodgers. I don't know why. I've got a feeling he's going to do something this week. Maybe I'm stupid, but yeah, I'd stick with what you have. I wouldn't take a hit for those transfers. Bench Palmer or Watkins? I'd probably bench Watkins. He's never scored against Chelsea in home matches, which might sound surprising. And look, the way Chelsea are playing right now, I think Villa will get chances, so that could be a big mistake. But Chelsea have a massive advantage in terms of rest. 8 days to Villa's 3. I think that could play a big part in the result. I've gone for 1-1. Start 1, Van Dijk or Aina? I'd go for Aina. Meant to say Rodgers for Wanyeri. I think I still got it. Maybe I didn't, but yeah, I thought I understood that. Mancoba says, who to start, Joao Pedro or Rodgers and Trent or Robinson? Yeah, Rodgers for me and Trent. Although the last one is a very difficult one to really pick. Thank you, Paolo, for the super chat. 1 free transfer, swap slot. Isak to Cunha, Rogers to Kluivert. Yeah, Rogers to Kluivert looks really good. As much as I've been bigging up Rogers a little bit in this stream, yeah, Justin Kluivert is second in my captaincy list. I'd make that move, actually. I wouldn't sell Isak to Cunha, and I really like the Brazilian for, as a transfer for the long term, but you can always buy Cunha in the coming weeks, and maybe for a different striker, whilst keeping Isak. So, yeah, Rogers to Kluivert looks very solid to me. Start Trent or Hall. I'd go for Trent. Yeah. Kluivert for me. McDonald. Mbumo is still decent. What is table bonus manager for next game week? Next game week is the last time for me, Assman. For game week 27, I haven't really looked at it. So I'll have a look now and then I can tell you. But let's just make it very clear. This is provisional because it's about being eligible for table bonus at the start of the game week. So there will be changes in the Premier League table after this weekend, and that will have an impact on next week. So we can only talk about how things stand right now. So let's see. Were there any more updates, by the way, in terms of injuries? Oh yeah, Slot. Slot actually provided an update. So this is what Slot said literally an hour ago. I hope Cody Gakpo is available. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know exactly. It will be a close call. Connor Bradley, we don't know yet. I'd be completely surprised if he's involved in the Sunday game or the Wednesday game against Newcastle. You can assume that's not going to happen. I think these comments are from the other day, right? Yeah, he said this the other day, but they've now posted it on the Premier League website. Joe Gomez had surgery for his hamstring injury, so he's out for a long time. He'll be back maybe just before the end of the season. Then, of course, these two players are not injured, but they come back from an injury, Jota and Trent. So that's also the reason they don't play 90 minutes 5 times in a row in 15 days. That would be a big risk. We could see this on Wednesday with Connor Bradley. So yeah, with Cody Gakpo, unfortunately, we don't have anything concrete, it seems. But yeah, with Gakpo, I'm not 100% sure. That's what he said. I think he'll be in the squad. That would be my prediction. But yeah, these comments are from several days ago, I'm fairly sure. I remember seeing him say the exact same things on Thursday, it might have been, if not Wednesday, straight after the Aston Villa game. So yeah, all the injury updates have basically been covered. Nothing else has been really posted on the Premier League website. We are close to 100 likes. Let's be sure to reach that in the next couple of minutes and then push on towards 200. It costs nothing and really helps out the channel. Thank you to those that have done so. And yeah, let's look at that question that was asked about table bonus in Game Week 27. So, Brighton-Bournemouth was the early kickoff. Yeah, that will be table bonus as things stand. Yeah, Brighton are in 10th, Bournemouth are 5th. However, Brighton could rise maybe up to 8th in the Premier League table, depending on how Fulham and Aston Villa get on, and if they also beat Southampton. So obviously keep an eye for that. But Ursula would be one possible table bonus manager in Game Week 27. Yeah, Palace, Aston Villa, that's not going to be the case, right? Or am I being stupid? No. Yeah, Palace are 13th, Aston Villa 9th. So right now, that isn't the case, but maybe Glasner would be eligible, depending on results this weekend. Then we've got Wolves-Fulham. So Vitor Pereira against Marco Silva. That is also another table bonus opportunity. Also, Juric against Chelsea. I wouldn't recommend that. I think Chelsea will still beat Southampton quite easily. Brentford-Everton. So that's a no. Right? Yeah, Brentford 11th, Everton 14th. Things have changed so much in the Premier League table. United-Ipswich, that would be a no as well. Both of them similar in terms of the Premier League table. Forest Arsenal, also the same in 3rd and 2nd respectively. Spurs Man City. Yeah, Spurs. Ange Postecoglou against Man City. That could be a great one, actually. At home, they beat them 4-0 last time out. I think Postecoglou looks very appealing, actually, for the assistant manager in Game Week 27. Liverpool-Newcastle. So yeah, Newcastle are 7th. So Eddie Howe, but I would not be recommending that at Anfield. I think Liverpool win that quite comprehensively, and that will be a rehearsal of the Carabao Cup final. West Ham against Leicester. So Leicester in 19th, West Ham 16th, so that's a no. So easy 9-9 as things stand. Hurstler is eligible for table bonus. in Game Week 27. There is a possibility that Glasner could get some against Aston Villa if Palace drop in the Premier League table or Villa rise. As for Wolves, you can go for Vitor Pereira against Fulham at home, Juric away to Chelsea. Also for Eddie Howe against Liverpool away. Ange Postecoglou is probably my favourite against Man City at home. And that is pretty much it for table bonus managers in Game Week 27. Yeah, so hopefully that helped you a little bit there. Mikalenko or Munoz? This week, I'd go for Mikalenko. Thanks to learn UCL Fantasy was a nightmare. Don't get me started, mate. I'll talk more about that in the videos, of course, but Dembele captain, flop. Harry Kane captain, injured and flopped. Yeah, and in the first leg, the amount of 50-50 calls that went against me was ridiculous. You know, it boggles my mind how going for Di Gregorio instead of Gatti to cover Juventus defensively cost me 9 points in just one game. But it happened, and then, yeah, from there, it all went tits up, especially in matchday 10, you know, as I was ending the stream, I see Theo Hernandez sent off. People let me know in the live chat, and it's funny. You should go back and watch it if you haven't seen it. You saw my unfiltered reaction about Theo Hernandez, the pink-haired fraud. Amato Wanyeri or Dango? I prefer Dango. Joao Pedro or Rodgers? I'd go for Rodgers. I have McKenna as AM this week, and I'm debating Isak as captain. Do you think I shouldn't risk it if I already have McKenna, and should I just have Salah? Well, Isak is third in my captaincy list, and Salah is first, but I do think it's a nice opportunity to go against Salah for the captaincy, but I get your point, because if you're already going bold with your assistant manager pick, do you need to also go for that sort of kind of real high risk, high reward by going against Salah? But I still don't think it should impact your thinking too much this week, because Salah is away to Man City. As poor as they've been this season, they've still got a good record against Liverpool at the Etihad. I see the Liverpool result giving Arsenal a boost. Reckon 3-0. What? Really? Despite Arsenal's attack. Oh, right. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I really hope you're right, but I've gone for 1-0 Arsenal. Ultimately, the only thing Arsenal fans care about is getting the result and having somewhat of a title race going on, but it's still very difficult for Arsenal. Ndai to Cunha or Gakpo to Cunha? Wood. That's a good question, to be fair. Ndai could be back fairly soon, but Gakpo should be available even sooner. Ultimately, I'd probably prioritise selling Gakpo first because he's more expensive, and you can always sell Ndai in the coming weeks. I would do Gakpo to... Yeah, difficult one, because Chris Wood faces Arsenal City in the next 3. But I think Chris Wood is still the first one to buy. I do favour him against Newcastle compared to Cunha this week. Rank Isak and Buma Vissa, Palmer and Clover for the captaincy. It's kind of been covered a lot, mate, but just to show you the captaincy list another time, this is what I've gone for. So you can kind of see for yourself what I've kind of picked here. So of the other options you mentioned, in Mbumo, yeah, he'd be at the bottom of the list. I know it might seem a bit controversial, and he's got a better fixture than Palmer, for example, but that is the way I've ranked the captaincy this week. Danga or Cunha, I already have Semenyo, says James123. I still think, for this week, Dango's better, which is reflected in the captaincy list, but long-term, I'd recommend Cunha. So, yeah, looking at the long-term, I'd recommend the Brazilian. That is my 2 thoughts, or 2 cents on it. Who to sell Rodgers to? A Bournemouth mid, probably. I think Klovet's my favourite. Theo Hernandez just did an 8 Nuri. Yeah, he deserved the red card as well, by the way. It's great refereeing. And I wish we saw that more often, where blatant simulation results in a red card. Roy says Watkins, Mateta, Isak, Palmer, Mbumo, Rodgers, which 4 to start and who to bench. So basically bench 2. Reluctantly, I would bench Rodgers and possibly Watkins. I'd definitely start Isak, Palmer, and Mbumo. That goes without saying. And the other one to start is either Watkins or Mateta. I'd probably leave it up to you to decide, because that is very close. Mateta has the really good form over a prolonged period of time. Watkins doesn't have a great record against Chelsea at home, but the way they're defending, I wouldn't want to bench Villa attackers against them, to be fair. Yeah, this is ultimately independent, mate. I can't tell you exactly when to use chips, only give you an idea, but free hit in Game Week 29 is somewhat appealing. I think the wild card should be used between Game Week 30 and 34, depending on when you use your other chips. And I think the free hit, yeah, Game Week 29, possibly even Game Week 33-ish. That is the kind of cycles or windows I'd be looking at. Yeah, UCL, I'll talk more about that in the videos, but not good, unfortunately. Best replacement for Ahmad, Justin Kluivert. If you've got him already, then perhaps I'd probably go for Semenyo or Dango Ouattara. Just bear in mind that Dango might be very short-term. Nuno Mendes, my highest points. How much did he get? I had Pacho and Hakimi, but it was Barcola who's my highest scoring player. But yeah, apart from the PSG assets who saved me in both weeks, they've been very disappointing. And I captained the wrong one in matchday 10. I'd rather not talk about it. Kinski to Flecken. I mean, from the permutations you gave me, it's probably the least worst option. I'm not a big fan, but it's better than the rest. Start Robinson, Milenkovic or Robinson. I'm sure there's someone else there. I'm not sure who the third player is, but yeah, Robinson's my favourite from at least between him and Milenkovic. Best replacement keeper for Alisson, taking Game Week 29 into consideration. Yeah, I think Sels is probably the one to go for. It's not an ideal time to buy him. He's got Newcastle, Arsenal and City in the next three. But yeah, it's going to be Sels. Start one of Greaves, Mikolenko, Howson. I'd lean towards Howson, but ultimately Greaves should be last. You know, he should not be considered in my opinion. It's Mikolenko, Howson, and I'd say Howson right now. Just sold Ahmad for Dango, now have a Bournemouth triple up. Still having Dye and Joao Pedro. Wonder how much Chris Wood will hurt my... Well, pause. I'm not going to say that last part. Yeah. I think a Bournemouth triple up looks viable. I've only got one. And if I were to make a midfield move, it's very likely I'll buy Kluivert and double up at least. Start Semenyo or Marmoush? Semenyo. Bench Gakpo or Rodgers? I'd bench Gakpo. Good to see you, Ignacio. Grande Dylan. ¿Para cuándo ves el triple captain o triple capitán? ¿Gakpo por quién? Yo vendría Gakpo por Chris Wood, Mateus Cunha o Jean-Philippe Mateta. También depende de cuándo vas a usar el free hit. Y con el triple captain, la jornada 32 para Isaac, que tiene un doble. Wait, what about Mbeumo not on your captaincy list? Yeah, it's just he blanked the last time he faced Leicester, and in recent games he hasn't been particularly great, so... I know it's contentious. He could definitely be above Welbeck. I get that, but I've gone for him narrowly outside the top 10 captaincy options. I hope I'm wrong, and he does really well in my team, but I'm not looking to captain him myself. Start Rodgers or Wood, also AM Glasner for slot. I would only buy Glasner or any manager for slot if it's free. I would not do it for a hit. As for starting Rodgers or Wood, Chris Wood. Mitoma for Rodgers or a Bournemouth mid. I'd lean towards a Bournemouth mid. Slot to Arteta for free, or slot to Iraola to free up money for Bournemouth midfielder from -4. Arteta for free. That'd be my preference. -4 hit Gakpo out for Wissa. I'd just start Rodgers. This week, I'd start Raya over Sels, yeah. I think Raya's probably the best goalkeeper on paper in Game Week 26, but we'll see how that ages. Are you selling slot? It's a possibility. Ultimately, I've got one free transfer, so I'm in a bit of a pickle right now. But I don't want to take a hit. I'm just going to be very clear on that. I don't want to take a hit, no matter which manager I end up going for. But let's say, for example, I made a midfield transfer, and then I was like, you know what? I really want to sell slot for whatever reason. In that scenario, where I take a hit, I just go all out and go, for the jugular and pick a manager eligible for table bonus. And in that case, I'd go for Oliver Glasner. But if I were to do it for free, Arteta is the kind of safe, secure option. Arsenal have the highest odds for a clean sheet and of winning in Game Week 26. Start Cunha or Rodgers. I'd go for Cunha just about, but I don't like benching Rodgers this week, I have to say that. Do you think Lewis would be in the first team or not? Yeah, I think so, and I did predict this against Newcastle when he was benched in a lot of successive games. The thing is, though, you can't rely on him in the long term, and for Blank Gameweek 29, I wouldn't count your eggs with Rico Lewis. Sells versus Pickford and Colwill versus Aina. This week, Pickford, and I would go for Aina. I think that's the best way to go about it. Should I gamble on Kluivert or Mbeumo over Salah? If I were to go against Salah for the captaincy, it would be Kluivert. Beto or Rodgers? Beto. Ahmad and Gakpo injured. Having 2 transfers now. Is it okay to use the transfers now or hold till Game Week 29? It's okay to use them now. And with Gakpo, he could be available, by the way. Ahmad is out for several months, possibly for the rest of the season. But with Gakpo, he could be available this week. From those two, I'd probably bench Kerkez, but that is a very close one. I don't like benching either Robinson or the Hungarian left-back. Currently on Emery with 1 free transfer, would you consider a -4 to bring in McKenna, Glasner, and either Dango or Wanyeri in the midfield? Yeah, not for a hit, no. I mean, like I said before, if I were to take a hit for a manager, I think you got the right idea. Just go all out and target table bonus and hope for the best there. And I'd go for Glasner, but I wouldn't recommend a hit for a manager if possible. Oh, wow, Nuno Mendes got 13 points. Yeah, that's what I mean. If I built a fresh squad for Gameweek or Matchday 10, I probably would have gone for Nuno Mendes, but it is what it is, right? Brighton differential, Minter. Would you take a -4 for Emery out? No. Should I keep Slot, or is there a better option? I think Arteta's the best or safest option for Gameweek 26, but I wouldn't do it for a hit. Start Wanyeri or Kluivert? Kluivert for sure. I meant start Robinson, Milenkovic or Munoz. Still Robinson for me. My UCL 47 points. Yeah, it was a big disappointment, I think, for a lot of people. Start 2, Wood, Wanyeri, Mateta. I would bench Wanyeri. Quinn Anders says, do I take a -4 hit to get Dango in for Rodgers? I just play Rodgers, I think. And the same goes for Slot. I'd probably keep them. That's the way I look at it. I could be wrong, and of course you can take a hit and gain points from those transfers, but in a lot of cases I think it won't pay off, and I don't think it's worth the risk. That's my opinion on it, especially with the managers. I would captain Kluivert over Isak. I just covered the captaincy options again, and the top 10 list. Isak was 3rd, Kluivert was 2nd. Aaron says, bench 1, Wood, Isak, Mateta, Maddison, and Mbumo, play Trent or Borro. Yeah, out of those players, I'd possibly bench Jean-Philippe Mateta, which I don't like, and I'd play Trent over Borro. Have done Emery and Ahmad to Hursler and Dango for a hit. Is Dango a good captaincy option? He's 5th on my list. I think he's a decent choice, so yeah, the answer to your question would be a resounding yes. Start Colwill, Gakpo or Greaves? I'd chance on Gakpo, but I think the best thing to do is probably sell him to another striker like Cunha and have him in place for Blank Gameweek 29 potentially. So, ahead of Blank Gameweek 29, with 2 transfers now, what to do if Ahmad and Gakpo injured? Use the transfers a whole till 29 with 6 players blanking in 29. I'd sell one of them at least and bolster your team for now, but you don't need to sell both in Gameweek 26. Should I start Wood or Rashford? Chris Wood. And Milenkovic or Mikalenko? Mikalenko. Adil says, hi Dylan, would you rather start Rodgers and do Slot to Glasner for free, or bench Rodgers and sell Ahmad for Kluivert and start him and keep Slot for free? That's close. I mean, Kluivert and Slot or Glasner and Rodgers, that's a very close call. I'd lean towards Kluivert and Slot, but not by much. Kerkez, Mikalenko or Hall, I already have Pickford in net. Yeah, I'd go for Milos Kerkez. I haven't got a Villa midfielder. Thoughts on Tielemans as a differential? I wouldn't be buying him in now unless you're free hitting in 29, and in that case you can go for any of these Villa, Palace, Newcastle assets who blank in 29. Otherwise, I just think it's a transfer waiting to happen. Bench 1 of Rodgers, Kerkez, Robertson, Trent, Joao Pedro. It might be Joao Pedro, you know? Yeah. And now the 1 week where I say you should bench him, he's going to do something. It's FPL heritage. How to share your team? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm 822nd in Bangladesh. What approach should I take to be number 1? Well, you've got to go against the grain at times and make some bold decisions. That might include selling Palmer, but in that kind of scenario, I mean, I've been saying this a lot, he does face Southampton and Leicester in the next 3, so you've got to be very careful, take calculated risks, but I think ultimately you're not going to catch up to number 1 by doing the same thing as everyone else. You've got to make your own path, keep doing what you're doing because you're doing well, but you've got to find a different approach, and I think some differentials will really help you, you know, even if it's a 1 week punt, or maybe even your chip strategy, the way you kind of order, you know, let's say you're using the assistant manager or the triple captain, that could all play a big part. I've gone for Kluivert captain. He is 2nd in my list, and if I had him, I'd be very tempted to go for him as my captain. Sharda as a punt if I can't afford Mbumo. Yeah, I think that's a really nice one. He scored a hat-trick against Leicester last time out, so that's not too shabby. And also with Mbumo and Brentford assets, I would be slightly careful because they do have some pretty poor long-term fixtures until Game Week 34. Mi mediocampo, Salah, Sarr, Rodgers, Semenyo y Palmer. I can't even speak. Y mis delanteros son Isaac, Watkins y Wood. ¿A quién dejo en la banca? Ismail Sarr. Y si es posible, yo lo vendería. Para mí no es una buena opción en Fantasy Premier League. Hall or Mikalenko? Mikalenko. Play one of Kanate, Vandenberg or Colwill. Vandenberg is out. That's confirmed by Thomas Frank. From those options, I'd probably say Kanate, but I'd make a defender transfer if you can. Mikalenko or Howson, as I don't want to bench Arnold. Howson just about really close. From those options, I'd start Dan Burn. Dango or Kluivert? Kluivert. Start Rodgers or Visser? Visser. -4, worth it for Rodgers to Kluivert? I think long term it's worth it, yeah. I think it is worth it, to be fair. Play Hall or Joao Pedro over Ndai, and is it worth selling slot to Glasner? I'd play Lewis Hall. Yeah, I think with slot to Glasner, it could be worth it, of course, but with a hit, I would rather avoid it, so it just depends on that. Are you transferring slot out? It's possible. I'm keeping my options open, but I haven't made a final decision yet because there are so many different moves I'd like to make. Hola, ¿qué opinas de esto? 1 second, by the way, because my... Yeah, this is bugged out for some reason. Let me know if that impacted the team on screen, if it changed how it looked, because, yeah, I just had a technical difficulty. So, yeah, ¿qué opinas de esto? Rodgers out, Dango, Wanyeri in, Gakpo out, and Mauricio Cunha in. -4. Sí, de esas transferencias, yo prefiero Rodgers a Dango por un -4. Would you do Pedro to Vissa? I feel like it'll be classic FPL troll and Pedro gets a brace somehow. Yeah, I have a sneaky feeling about that myself because football is unpredictable ultimately. But yeah, even with Vissa, I like him for this week, but not in the long term. And I'd recommend the likes of Cunha, Chris Wood, and Mateta if you are buying a forward now. Hope you don't see Rodgers' cold celebration against Chelsea. Benching him, good luck, brother. I'm hoping for the opposite, unless I decide to sell him in the end. Palmer or Wood, who to start? Cole Palmer. Yeah, Sandclap, that's been covered. Hey Dylan, I'm benching Palmer. Pray for me. It's a big call. Aaron says bench 1, Madison, Wood, Mateta, Watkins, and Mbumo. Play Trent or Bodro. I'd play Trent. And from the other question you asked me, bench 1, reluctantly, it would be Ollie Watkins. Ashwin says Rodgers to Wanyeri for free and bench Palmer. No, I think Palmer's better than Wanyeri this week. Already have Dango and Mbumo and Visser. Yeah, I just wouldn't bench Palmer. That's just my take on it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think a big return is coming very soon. Semenyo or Kluivert? Covered many times, it'd be Kluivert. Yeah, Kluivert in for Ahmad is fine, even for a hit. Hey Dylan, Hall, Robinson, Trent, Kirkus, Gabriel start free. I would bench Lewis Hall and potentially Kirkus here. Robinson or Munoz? Robinson. Kinski to Flecken and Ndai to Cunha, or Kinski to Flecken or Gakpo to Wood. They're all good shouts. I'd probably do Gakpo to Wood and Flecken in. And you can always buy Cunha next week. Thoughts on captaining one of the Bournemouth mids instead of Salah? Yeah, I'm not against it. I think it's a nice opportunity to go against Salah, and Kluivert would be my favourite to go against the Egyptian. He is second in my list, in my Captaincy list, and Dango's 5th, actually. Nonso says, already have Kluivert and 1 free transfer. Who should I get between Mbumo or Bournemouth mid? Bournemouth mid. Yeah, for sure. I've got Mateta, so I'm benching Robinson for Hall. Yeah, I get that. I wouldn't bench Robinson personally, but it's sound logic. I don't like having these sort of kind of benching dilemmas, or how do I say this, these kind of conflicts in your team. Bench Alanga or Mikalenko? Bench Alanga. Do Gordon or Rodgers to Kluivert? I think they're both sellable. I'd rather sell Anthony Gordon this week. Hall, Robinson, Trent, Kirkes, Gabriel start free. That's been covered. Rodgers to Wanyeri and slot to Arteta. I want to do both for a hit. I will just do slot to Arteta for free and keep Rodgers for now, and you can always sell him in the future. I'm a Leicester fan, so I'm very tempted to bring Van Nistelrooy, but we are so awful. No goals scored in the last 5 home games. Yeah. The thing is, Fantasy Football Hub do have Leicester third in the predicted points algorithm, the Gameweek 26, so that could be interesting. Now, look, Brentford are a bit inconsistent, especially on their travels, but they are favourites to win this game. Gakpo to Cunha, good transfer long term. My answer is yes. All right, we've got half an hour left. I'm going to put a poll out, and I'm going to try finalise my transfers for Gameweek 26. I've only got one available move, so let's add this context here. Which is the best move for Gameweek 26 and beyond? All right, so the first one would be roll the transfer. Second will be slot to Emery. So let's see if we can do that. All right. Let's get this poll on the road. Yeah, I'm going to put Kluivert here. So Rodgers to Kluivert, and the other one, maybe 2 of them for -4. No, I'll say Ndai to Cunha. Yeah, I think that will be my poll. So be sure to cast your vote and let me know your thoughts in the live chat. This will also help some people out there in a similar predicament to myself. So yeah, let's get the stream to over 200 likes. Thank you to those that have done so already. We have made some progress as we have covered all the latest updates. I'll go through the graphics and stuff like that one more time, of course, for the new viewers. I'll do that very shortly. Andrea says, is it just me or do you get so excited when he is almost at your comment? Yeah. I try to cover as many different people and things as possible, but yeah, maybe you're not the only one. Abhishek says, I want Haaland in place of Gakpo for Gameweek 29. I can't make that transfer in Gameweek 26 or 27 without hits. He plays Southampton in 28, so I might have to hold him. I get that. It's very sound logic. You make some good points, but my kind of counter argument to that is Cody Gakpo might be benched in such a fixture against Southampton by that stage because you've got the Champions League in between and you've got the other cup competitions. Well, mainly the Carabao Cup in, a few weeks' time from that point. So I'm not entirely sure if he does start against Southampton. I think it's probably best to cut ties with him and go to the likes of Cunha, Chris Wood and Mateta. Easy says, if I transfer manager, for example, 1.5 million and the Asmanova, yeah, exactly that. And I mentioned it earlier for me. So once Gameweek 26 is over, that 1.5 million from Arne slot will go back into my FPL bank account. So yeah, that is how it works. Otherwise, that would be a kind of a major drawback of the assistant manager. Don't you think Dango has earned his place even if Vanderson comes back? I don't think the Brazilian will be rushed back in, but if Anderson is ultimately their number 1 striker and then Dango gets pushed to the wing or he gets dropped to the bench. Pratik says, hey Dylan, Munoz or Mikolenko this game week? I've got Pickford in goal. I'd probably go for Munoz here and diversify your defence. Hi mate, Captain Mbuma or Joao Pedro? Mbuma. Alfred says, Emery is my AM. I'll be left with 4 free transfers if I save my transfers for Gameweek 29. My plan moves are Gakpo to Cunha, offload Rodgers and Greaves to Kirkes, wildcard in Gameweek 30, play Emery, bench for Gameweek 29, Salah, Trent, Isak. Yeah, really sound to be fair. I think with Emery, I don't mind keeping him, but since you've got 4 free transfers, I would be tempted to make a switch to either Arteta or Oliver Glasner in your case. Yeah, bench in 29 makes sense, and you'd want them for the long term. Liverpool have good fixtures afterwards, and Newcastle double in 32, so really sound plans actually. I'm on board with all of them, and I would say Emery to Arteta or Glasner, depending on your preference in the approach. Son or Mbuma in for Diaz, it would be Mbuma still. Guys, there is a very strong chance that Gakpo starts from the bench tomorrow. It's very risky to start him. I agree. I did say earlier, if I had to lean one way or the other, I think he will start, but that depends on his fitness, of course. It is a big risk to keep him anyway. Bench Trent, Howson, or Robinson? Reluctantly, I would bench Howson. From those two PC gamer tag, I would start Robinson. I'm yet to use the assistant manager chip. I want suggestions to use. I wouldn't be using it now. I would use it around Game Week 32 because Newcastle and Palace will double in that game week. And then in Game Week 33, you've got a bigger double game week. So you've got back-to-back doubles and 4 fixtures in the matter of 2 game weeks with the most powerful chip, arguably, in FPL. Adil says, I really don't know if I should just do slot to Glasner for the upside. This would mean I start Rodgers, but I do have Semenyo already, to be fair. Yeah, I'm also quite tempted by the high ceiling of an Oliver Glasner, to be fair. It is really tempting for me. So, yeah, it's something I'm going to weigh up. I think the most likely move for me now is what's in top spot of the poll right now, Rodgers to Kluivert, or Arne slot out to one of Arteta or Oliver Glasner. I think, for example, with Cunha, he will probably come into my team at one stage, whether I free hit in 29, he will be in that Game Week 29 squad, or I just buy him in beforehand. But if not, I think my kind of main focus now is going to be on that assistant manager or bolstering that midfield. But yeah, it's a really even poll, I have to say. 37% of you have gone for Rodgers to Kluivert, and the other kind of options are all sharing 21%, which is crazy. So definitely varying opinions in the FPL community. Adil says, so true. Who would you start, Wood or Visser? This week I'd go for Visser, but I don't like benching Chris Wood. I really don't. Jason Drake says, Gakpo to Mateta, Emery to McKenna for a hit, but that would mean going without a Brentford player. I don't like taking a hit. I wouldn't sell Emery to McKenna for a -4. Gakpo to Mateta, I like the look of that, to be fair. If you're free hitting in 29, I would buy Mateta. Ahmad to Wanyeri or Ahmad to Mitoma? Mitoma. Is Mitoma a good buy until 29? I think so, but Brighton assets have been fairly underwhelming. I think Mitoma's been the best of a bad bunch. So I'd be slightly careful with that one, but I do think it's a good purchase, mainly for Game Week 26 against Southampton. Yeah, that is true. A lot of managers have taken a hit for a assistant manager. Callum Jr. says it's either Visser, Wood, or Mbumo to bench for Palmer. Leaning towards Mbumo, can't decide. Yeah, from those three, I'd be inclined to agree with you. The thing is, with those Brentford attackers, you might bench the wrong one, but ultimately, that is always going to be a potential issue when you've got 8 decent attackers. Would you do slot to Glasner and Ahmad to Kluivert for a hit? I get it, and it's a decent hit. It can really pay off big time, but I'd probably stick with Ahmad to Kluivert for a free transfer. What I'm going to do now, since it's a very even poll, is end it. I'm going to put a new one, which is slightly different. I'll have some of the similar options in there, mainly the top vote, which was Kluivert in for Rodgers. So yeah, Ndaita Cunha was second with 21%, roll the transfer, and slot to Arteta with just 20% of the vote. So interesting results there. So yeah, these are my final transfer plans. This will also help for some people tuning in late who haven't seen my team selection and all that stuff. I'll also show those graphics from yesterday's video very shortly, because we are, well, getting very close to the deadline. 23 minutes left. So yeah, these are my final transfer plans for Game Week 26. So let's do this. So we'll do slot to Arteta. We'll also do slot to Glasner. And then Kluivert in for Rodgers. I think roll the transfer deserves a spot here in 4th. Well, actually, you know what? 2 of those transfers for a hit. 2 of those for a -4. 2 transfers for a -4 hit. Here we go. Okay, let's see what changes now. Valdimarsson or Sols to start. Valdimarsson is not going to be there. Flecken got 10 points against West Ham last time out. He returned from injury, so it has to be Sels. Rodgers or Palmer? Palmer. Yeah, I'd hold Emery. Rodgers to Mbumo, Gakpo to Mateta hit. That looks fairly decent, to be fair. Yeah, But I still don't even mind just doing Gakpo to Mateta for free. That's fairly solid. Dylan, do I switch back to Isak from Watkins or Ndai to Vissa? I like Watkins, but I think Isak in is a great move. Yeah. Start Rodgers or sell him to Dango? I'd sell him to Dango. Start Robinson or Munoz? Robinson. And Ahmad for Semenyo? Good transfer. Now, my favourite Bournemouth midfielder is Kluivert. And he is winning the vote once again, by the way. Start Trent or Hall? Trent. Diaz or Trossard? Trossard. Semenyo or Wood to start? Chris Wood. Gordon or Rodgers? Gordon. But in terms of, if you've got both of them and you're looking to sell one, I think there is definitely a debate to sell Gordon first because of the value. Now, this might be irrelevant for some people with a lot of money in the bank, but especially those with the assistant manager active, I think that could be also very important in terms of the timing of when you sell these players. Yeah, you might be right, Paolo. I hope you're wrong, though. Start Rodgers or Sarr? Rodgers. Take a hit for Chris Wood? Depends who you're selling. Not sure if it's absolutely needed. For example, if you've got Rodgers, I'd just start him. Trent to Gabriel? I'd probably keep Trent for the foreseeable future, but Gabriel's a nice transfer in. I am looking to buy him myself at some stage. How big is the risk to transfer Slot to Glasner? Fairly substantial. Now, in your case, you haven't mentioned a hit, but for free, I think it is worth a punt. When you're also including a -4 into the equation, I do think it is a very big risk. Starting Hall over Robinson as I have Mateta. Yeah, someone else said something similar. I completely get it. Start Van Heck or Murillo? Van Heck. Yep, I'd take the hit for Kluivert Geotip, as mentioned earlier. High Verbruggen or Flecken this week. Verbruggen, but I do... In fact, in my predictions that I covered earlier, I said both teams concede. Southampton... Sorry, well, of course Southampton. Brighton and Brentford, both of them conceding. So let's go through the graphics one more time, and yeah, afterwards I'll go to the poll results and make my final moves, if indeed I make any, and then answer some final questions. But let's kick things off with the analysis, with the predictions, the captains, and this will help some of you with your questions in terms of who should I captain this week. I want to go against Salah, and these predictions give you an insight into some of my kind of preferences with your starting 11. So with Leicester City and their team weakness, they are conceding a lot of chances in central areas. But to be honest, you're going to see in the graphic now, these are all the shots they've conceded since Gameweek 14 when Van Nistelrooy was there. Let me actually go back to that. And then I'll leave it there for a little while. So yeah, the circles are the shots that Leicester have conceded since Gameweek 14 when Van Nistelrooy was appointed. And the heat map is Vissa's shot volume from Gameweek 1 until Gameweek 25. So as you can see, I think Vissa could be in a very good position here to score some very big returns against Leicester City. But it was Kevin Schade who scored the hat-trick last time out in a 4-1 win for Brentford, while Mbeumo blanked, unfortunately. As for clean sheets and over 2 goals odds, these are taken from DraftHound. Arsenal are top with Brighton, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Spurs, Brentford and West Ham. Well, West Ham are bottom. The top 6 you can see, Brentford are in 6th. And in terms of over 2 goals, Arsenal somehow are in top spot with a front line of Marino up front maybe. If not, you got Sterling on the left. Very interesting to say the least. But with the top 10 captains, I've gone for Salah in number 1 as usual, but I think the gap between him and the rest is much closer than it usually is. And I think Justin Kluivert would be an excellent choice to rival Salah for the captaincy. Isak is third with Mitoma, Dango, Maddison, Palmer, Beto, Vissa and Welbeck in the top 10. I have to say with Welbeck, he might be the one who could easily be dropped from this list. I certainly accept that. Maybe Mbeumo is worth going for instead, but that is my kind of original list. I'll stick with it for now. And let's also go to my team selection. These are the graphics I showed you yesterday in that video. And some interesting things there. You can see how I did in Double Gameweek 25. I'm not really going to comment on that because it was all covered in yesterday's video, and our full focus will be on Gameweek 26. But what you're going to see on screen are all my potential transfers which I've kind of considered over the week, and the poll that you see now in the live chat now includes my definitive transfer plans. Even rolling is a possibility, but I am quite tempted to once again use my solitary free transfer and make some moves. As for prices, these are all up to date. Palmer actually went down in price overnight to 11.1 million. But Rogers de Kluivert is in number 1 for the poll and is the most likely transfer I will make in terms of players. But I am looking at manager changes as well. Another one I've also considered is Rogers to Mitoma. That is also a fairly decent shout, particularly for Gameweek 26, but I think Kluivert would be the better pick. Indai Cunha is a nice move, but one I might do instead for Gameweek 27 or Blank Gameweek 29. And now, a lot of people are considering this sort of switch. Well, Colwell to Gabriel is a great upgrade. I'll probably do it in a couple of weeks' time, actually. I do have a lot of money in the bank. But Slot to Glasner is definitely the kind of high-risk, high-reward approach. I'm not a big fan of taking a hit for selling the likes of Slot or Emery this week, but it can pay off. It's just a very high risk, which I'm not sure is worth it. And Glasner is my favourite amongst all managers eligible for table bonus. And the last move, which has been the most likely for me all week, is by Mikel Arteta for Arne Slot. And if I were to do that sort of transfer, my team would line up in the following way. But of course, I'll go back to the FPL screen fairly shortly with my definitive transfers being made live, of course, during this stream. But Sells in goal, a back three of Trent, Veltman and Robinson. Would you start Mikalenko or Veltman? Let me know in the live chat. That is certainly a very close one. But Salah, Palmer, Mbumo, Roger, Semenyo with Wood and Isak up front. There are no qualms about that. So the only real benching dilemma I have is having Mikalenko first there on my bench. Colwell and Ndai, of course, I'm very happy to have rotting on the bench, you could say. And Valdimarsson is my backup goalkeeper who won't play. But it's either going to be Slot, Arteta or Glasner as my assistant manager. A late decision will be made now. The captaincy, no real surprises here. Salah and Isak are the prime candidates. But if I were to bring in Kluivert, I am very tempted to maybe go a bit differential and he could be my next captain. But he certainly would take the vice over Alexander Isak if that was the case. And before I go back to my team and your questions, I'm sure there are maybe a few different comments coming in. I want to show you some injury updates. So as you can see with Haaland, Guardiola doesn't know yet, but tomorrow we should know for sure if Haaland is available against Liverpool. And these cover all the other teams basically. At least the updates from today's press conferences. We also got one from Thomas Frank yesterday, and he said Vandenberg could be out for several weeks, but they're hoping for the best there, of course. But yeah, pretty much all the injury updates and team news you need have been addressed in this video and live stream. So I'm going to go back to my team very shortly. These are the last updates we got from the Premier League website. So yeah, now we've just got 30 minutes left, and the poll is interesting. Wow, Rogers to Kluivert, 34%, Slot to Glasner, 32%, and then Slot to Arteta with 21. Very interesting stuff. 2 transfers for a hit is only getting 12% of the vote. Interesting times indeed, that is for sure. All right, so let's do some quick fire questions. Slot to Glasner for a -4? Probably not for me. I'm not a big fan of a manager hit this week. I think Iriola is a good alternative after Arteta. Last 3 matches at home, 2 clean sheets, conceded only by Liverpool. Yeah, he was highlighted in my Transtips podcasts. It's actually might be worth going for that again since I haven't shown my Transtips graphics in this stream. So this is why I went with. So Mitoma was one of my suggested purchases, especially as a differential. His ownership was actually 5% when I first made the graphics, and now it is at 7.6. Wanyeri has gone up in price over the last couple of days, and in fact Mitoma did go up overnight to 6.4 million. And if we now go to the hold section, yes, I do have Cole Palmer in there. I think he is absolutely worth keeping, but his ownership keeps on dipping. It's now at 61.4%, and he went down to 11.1 million. Matheus Cunha is a great long-term purchase, to be honest, but I have recommended holding on to him for now. I think the best time to buy him is Gameweek 27 or 29. As for Vissa, I know some people are looking to buy him. I completely get it, but I think he's more of a hold than a purchase for Gameweek 26, and Brentford have some poor fixtures after Blank Gameweek 29. Cody Gakpo for me is a sell. He might be in the squad against City, and that is my prediction, but I still think it's worth selling and getting rid of that headache. He could be benched against Southampton, for example, and he blanks in Gameweek 29. You've got so many other options there like Mateta, Visser you could say, but mainly Matheus Cunha and Chris Wood. As for Ndai, he's another sell, very simple one, but a very positive update by David Moyes in the recent press conference. He could be available as soon as Gameweek 27 or 28, and he isn't a priority transfer because of his price tag. He is probably going to go down in price to 5.4 million though. Amad Diallo is another sell, very simple one. He's out for essentially the rest of the season, and because of his price, you might not need to sell him now, but I would still recommend it if possible. Luis Diaz for me is a skip, despite the big return against Wolves, winning a penalty and scoring a goal. Yeah, I just would avoid all Liverpool assets in terms of purchasing them. I think Salah and Trent are the best options still. As for a one-week punt, this is what I talked about the other day. Iriola is one of my favourite managers, especially if you want to go safe. But I still think Arteta is arguably safer. And Bournemouth's last home win against Wolves was back in 2015 when both teams were in the Championship. So that maybe doesn't bode well, you could say. But the last two games between Bournemouth and Wolves have been victories for Bournemouth, but it was at Wolves' stadium instead. And the last one is actually Marmoush. So he was actually highlighted as a buy in my Transits podcast. I think Gameweek 27 or 29 would be the best time to buy him. But I think what I could add now to future Transits podcasts is a new section called the watch list. So it's a player that might be worth investment, but not necessarily just yet, which is arguably what the skip section is all about. But let me know what you think in the live chat if you want to see some different sort of segments to differentiate ourselves from all other piece of content. So hopefully that has given you the extensive coverage for Gameweek 26. We've literally got 10 minutes now until the deadline. Lock in your teams, make sure your captain is sorted, your choice of manager, and also your bench. Everything has to be locked in and ready to go. Like the video if you haven't already. We are getting close to 200. We are 48 away. It'd be greatly appreciated if we reached that before the end of the deadline stream. So, yeah, thank you, Awali. Massively appreciate it as well. Yeah, I just want to do a hit for Glasner. No, I don't think so. Hi, Dylan. Play Beto or Chris Wood. I have gone for Beto 8th in my captaincy list, to be fair. So it's probably Beto, but I don't like benching Chris Wood. Not really Sonika, but I urge you to rewind the stream and see all the updates that have been covered. I put graphics on screen and talked over it at the beginning of the video, but not really. As far as I'm aware, nothing for an FPL asset anyway, unless you've got Erling Haaland. Kluivert, says Andrea. Start Munoz or Hall? Lewis Hall for me. Yeah, I think Mikalenko over Hall because I've gone for a 2-0 Everton win. Play Larson and bench Rodgers. I'd play Rodgers. Gabriel worth a -4. I just buy him for free in another week. Gakpo to Cunha, Marmoush, Vissel, Enzo, Rodgers to Dango, Sharda. Interesting. I would favour long-term Gakpo to Cunha is my favourite transfer, yeah. Semenyo, Kluivert or Dango? Kluivert. Emery to Glasner, have one free transfer and I want to save for Blank Gameweek 29. Yeah, if you can do it for free, that's fine. I get it that it impacts your Blank Gameweek 29 prospects, but if you can make it work, I think Glasner is worth the punt. I'm just not a big fan of doing it for a hit. Yeah, good luck, Easy99. You already just have a lot of hits, why not? Maybe you can give Arteta some blessing to chase Liverpool. Or I jinx him, which I don't want to do. Start Visser or Rodgers. Visser. It's possible, Elliot. I'm keeping my options open. As things stand, it's likely that I will free hit in 29. Hit for Gakpo to Cunha. Not sure about that, especially if you've got the likes of Rodgers to come on and you avoid the hit in the process. Rank Robinson, Hall and Mikalenko. Robinson will be top. I think I'd put Mikalenko second and Hall third. Start Sells or Henderson. Sells. Start Visser, Mateta over Rodgers. I'd start Visser, yeah, over Rodgers. Almost forgot the deadline. Who's the best manager? I think Arteta if you want to go safe. And for table bonus, it's Glasner. Do you think Liverpool can keep clean sheet? It's possible, but unlikely. I think City will score. I've gone for 1-1. Dango, Watkins, Isak or Wood. Who to bench? I don't like that, but if I had to bench one, it's going to be Watkins. Change slot to Iriola for a -4. I don't think that's worth it. Ashwin says play 2, Trent, Robinson, Mikalenko and Howson. I would play Trent and Robinson. Currently on Gabriel, Howson and Robinson. Rodgers to Wanyeri for free. Bought in Mbuma, Visser and Dango this week already. I just keep Rodgers for now. I like Wanyeri, but I think Rodgers can do well against Chelsea, to be fair. So if I sell him, I'm almost kind of certain Rodgers will do something. Start Larson or Rodgers? Rodgers. Captain Kluivert, he's second in my captaincy list. So if you want to go against Salah, I think Kluivert is the best option, but I still think Salah is the best choice for the armband. Hi, Dylan, bench Wood or Isak or Rodgers or Kluivert? Rodgers. Rodgers first sub if I'm starting Cunha and Wood. Yeah, I think that's fine. How many blanks possible in Gameweek 34? It's probably not going to be as big of a blank as we originally thought, especially with Liverpool crashing out of the FA Cup to Plymouth. So I'm not exactly sure how many. I'd have to double check that, but yeah, we could get quite a lot of teams featuring actually, which is fairly promising, but it all depends on the FA Cup results, so I can't really tell you right now. Glasner or Pereira? Glasner. Start Flecken or Sells? Flecken this week. Mitoma is actually 4th in my captaincy list, so it's a decent differential. Kluivert is a great replacement there, Big Sam, for Amad Diallo, so you're not going to find me complaining. Yeah, I think Arteta is better than Areola, or at least he's more likely to get a win and points for you. He kind of offers you that sort of guarantee, but Arsenal's attacking deficiencies could be highlighted once again. Yeah, I mean, I hope Mbeumo plays in more central areas, but in recent games he has been hugging the touchline, but we saw this kind of debate happen around 10 game weeks ago. Then he went crazy in certain matches. But I think Mbeumo will still get plenty of chances against Leicester, both in terms of chance creation and receiving those big chances himself. Gordon to Wanyeri, I just keep Gordon for now. But I would look to sell him before Blank Gameweek 29. So a lot of these questions have been answered. I am not locked in. I'm going to see if I can make a transfer now, potentially. So yeah, very interesting times ahead. Very interesting times. I'm going to the transfer section now. Interesting indeed. So, okay, so no updates on Twitter as far as I'm aware, and we haven't really gotten any sort of leaks in quite a while actually during a deadline stream. So, yeah, just a few minutes to lock in. Make sure to have everything ready. Yeah. I'll be honest, like, it's a very difficult one. Because even with Rodgers, for example, I think he can do something, but I am quite tempted. Yeah. I'm not sure if João Pedro starts. I think he's just worth offloading, to be fair. Start Gordon or Morgan Rodgers. I'd lean towards Gordon. Chris Wood or Palmer. Palmer, but I don't like benching Chris Wood. Good luck, Dylan. Hopefully I can make it 11 greens in the last 12. That's very impressive. Keep it going. Think about it. Yeah. Who knows at this point? Maybe keep Hurstler next game week? Possibly. I'm not a big fan of him even now, because it would not surprise me if Brighton dropped points against Southampton. And the last clean sheet against the Saints was back in 2012. I'm starting Veltman. Should I take the gamble and get a Spurs defender? I would not do it. Play Dango or Isak? Isak. Ultimately, you want to play both of them. Palmer blank incoming? I hope not. I don't think he will blank. That's why I'm starting him. Would you bench Hall or Nico Williams? I would bench Nico Williams here. Bigger chance to score Cunha or Marmoush this week? I'd probably lean towards Cunha. Not by much though, but that'd be my take on it. Yeah, I'll be honest. I think I'm going to keep Arne Slot. I think Rodgers to Kluivert is my likely transfer. And now watch, as soon as I do that, Rodgers brace and Kluivert blank incoming. So let's see. I love pain, don't I? But yeah, this poll has been very interesting. Look at that. 36% have said Glasner, 29% Kluivert, 21% Arteta, and then 14% saying 2 transfers for a hit. So yeah, we've got less than 3 minutes, mate. It's literally like 2 minutes now. So yeah, I'm going to make my moves. Arne Slot. Yeah, let's jinx Liverpool. Come on, they drop points whilst these are my team. I don't want to jinx Arteta. No chance. So yeah. Rolling, still a possibility for me, but I think Rodgers to Kluivert makes a lot of sense. I only bought Rodgers in the first place because of the double, and I didn't want to sell Isak. So, yeah, not buying Watkins was a bit disappointing, but having said that, hopefully it goes in my favour with Isak getting some big returns now, whilst those that sold him maybe struggle. So, yeah, I think Clover in, double up on Bournemouth. Looks fairly sound, helps me for Blank Gameweek 29. I think that is going to be my final move. Clover, the thumbnail boy, if you can say that. In for Morgan Rodgers. I could see this aging poorly. It wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time, but it is done. And Clover will take the vice captaincy. If I were to make a late captaincy switch, it would be him taking the armband. He is second after all in my captaincy list. So I've got 2 Bournemouth mids. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the season? So my final team should be Sells in goal, Trent, Veltman, Robinson, Salah captain, Mbumo, Palmer, Semenyo, Clover as my vice, Chris Wood and Isak up front with Slot as my assistant manager, Valdimarsson, Mikalenko, Colwell and Ndai. I'm even tempted to start Mikalenko, I'm not going to lie. I'm really tempted to start him. So we do have a super chat. Let's answer that before the deadline. We've only got a few seconds left. Aranya says, my 11 is Raya, Hall, Trent, Mikalenko, Clover, Palmer, Salah, Rodgers, Wood and Isak. Who to get with on free transfer? I'll be honest, it's really just something like Rodgers to Dango / Semenyo, or maybe you go to Matoma / Wanyeri, but I'm fairly happy with what you got actually. I don't think you need to make a transfer, but it's probably Rodgers out to one of those players I mentioned. Yeah, that's what I'd be looking towards. So yeah, we are locked in now. Good luck. Hopefully I don't regret selling Rodgers. I probably will. So for those that kept him and started Rodgers, enjoy the points. It's going to happen now. Good luck, Safir, and also to Genius Gamer. Same with Sidindra as well. Well, Rodgers is blanking in 29. Rodgers most likely sold out player. Yeah, it's also that sort of thing that I liked. The fact that it helps me navigate Blank Gameweek 29. Gives me another option to maybe not use the free hit there. And yeah, I like Clover for this week. He's second in my captaincy list. With Arne Slot, it would not surprise me if Liverpool go to the Etihad and win. I've gone for a 1-1 draw at the moment, but even with Arteta and Glasner, maybe there is a missed opportunity not going for one of them. But yeah, I've got Arteta in FPL Challenge, and typically my choice of manager there has done very well, of course. You look at David Moyes in Gameweek 24, for example. Cunha or Dango? Dango this week. Yeah, Dango. I'm quite bullish on Bournemouth. That's why I deleted the wrong tab, so now, yeah, ignore that. I don't have Rodgers. I've got, yeah, I can't even go back to it because the website's going to be updating now. But yeah, I did sell Rodgers to Clover, and I did start him, of course, so don't worry about it. I think the main things I could regret, there's 3 things. One is benching Mikalenko for one of Veltman or Robinson. The second one is selling Rodgers to Clover. And the third is not replacing Slot to a Arteta / Glasner. But let's jinx Liverpool. That's the hope, right? Even though there's still massive favourites to win the league. Bench 1, Cunha, Rodgers, Wood. Well, I would have benched Rodgers from those 3. Not a big fan of benching or selling Rodgers this week, though, which I've said many times. Mikalenko or Hall? Mikalenko, I think. Robinson or Kirkes? As for Kirkes, I own Cunha, who might score. I would have gone for Robinson. Yeah, not by much though. So yeah, we'll see how things go. FPL Challenge team I'll go to very soon. The app is glitching. I'm not logged in yet. I'm fairly sure though, if you made a transfer there, even if it says transfer confirmed, it won't actually go through. Oh yeah, so it has gone through. I can see it here. Yeah, the FPL app actually shows you the team. Wait, what? Oh wow, yeah, it looks like it's not locked in yet. Oh, we got an extended deadline, yeah? Nice. So let me go to this. So just for those that maybe are saying, Dylan, why are you're trolling us? You're taking the piss. You're deceiving us. You still got Rodgers. No. As you can see here, Rodgers has been sold to Justin Clover. But yeah, the deadline is kind of strange. Usually the website should be updated, no? I don't know. Does anyone want to kind of like tempt it? Maybe make a transfer, take one for the team? Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that was interesting. Oh, I'm an idiot. I already had it. Whatever. But yeah, thank you for letting me know about that. That's kind of strange. I haven't seen that in a very long time. Not locked yet. Really? I'm not sure. It's just like, I'm a bit unsure about that. If C beat Liverpool, are you going to regret not taking a risk? No, because Liverpool dropped points, and that means I would have jinxed Slot a few times. And if that means Arsenal win the league, which is very unlikely, but if it did happen, then I really don't care. Start Mikalenko says, Senor Benor. Yeah, well, I didn't, so... I mean, I've got the opportunity if it's not locked in, you could say. Let's see, actually. Let's try it out. I really hope this doesn't backfire. So Mikalenko in for Veltman. Save team. It says your team has been saved. What is going on here? Is that really something I should do? Benching Veltman? No, not sure about that. Lock in. Let the madness begin. Are we locked in? Find out after the break. Do you think Aït-Nouri will be a good asset during the favourable fixtures for Wolves, or just Cunha will be enough? Yeah, with Aït-Nouri, I remember saying after he trolled so many of us FPL managers that I would never go for him again. But I think for Blank Gameweek 29, he would be in quite a lot of free hit teams. He's got the attacking potential, facing the worst team in the league. So I think that is maybe reasonable, to be fair. Especially if you're selling Lewis Hall or Trent Alexander-Arnold, who you might want afterwards. But yeah, I think he could be a decent asset. Not amazing, though. Would you bench one of Cunha? Rogers would. I've covered that, mate. Dylan went for Glasner and kept Rogers. Nah, definitely not. I've kept Slot. I captained Salah. So did I. Good luck, John. Same with GusDude61. Let's get the likes up to 200 plus if that is possible. That would be very much open. Yeah, very much open. I just saw the word open. Yes, that is right, Ahmed. I'm not sure what's happening. I think it's just a visual glitch. I'm fairly sure we're locked in and I don't have Mikalenko in my starting 11. Cylindra says, decided to use my one free transfer to sell Slot for Glasner. Hope it goes well. And decided to start Hall over Joao Pedro for Ndai. Next game week, Cunha comes in. Yeah, sound strategy. And I do like Matheus Cunha. We'll see how Joao Pedro does. Hopefully he doesn't do too well. But yeah, Lewis Hall over him, I think, is the right decision. Good choices, Dylan. Kluivert, Semenyo, Dango got bigger chances to score than since the main striker's injured. Yeah, they've done very well since Evanilson's injury. They've coped very well with the injuries, so fair play to them. Don't do it, fam. Well, I've made that sub. It's not a big deal, is it? I don't think it's going to go through anyway. I'm hearing from others glitching. It's happening to all of us. I'm not locked in, says Fazid. Benched Palmer, Kanate, and Milenkovic. I think Palmer could really come back to bite you. Everton clean sheet is likely. I did say 2-0, so yeah. I think I lost it when Glasner and Dan go in for a -4. Yeah, just to make it very clear for people, I don't think the transfers or subs made after 6:30 PM UK time have actually gone through. Not locked on the FPL app. Actually, let me check this out. So if I go to the app, yeah, it actually is. I'm not sure. Should I even do this? Is it even... Should I put this up to my... Look, it actually shows Mikalenko in my starting 11. That's fishy, man. What's happening here, lad? What is happening here? Best time to play assistant manager? Around Game Week 32, as I mentioned before, because Crystal Palace and Newcastle double, and you'll have another double Game Week in 33, so you would have 5 matches in a free Game Week period, just like I did with Arne Slot, so that is the best time. FPL Challenge Team, yeah, we'll go into that, although there is still a lot of focus on FPL since the visual effect, I don't know, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But basically, it doesn't seem like we're locked in based on the FPL website. Bit weird. But I've gone for Pickford in goal, Kirkes, Robinson, Gabriel, Salah captain, Marino as a differential, Kluivert, Maddison, Isak, and Visser, with Mikel Arteta as my assistant manager in FPL Challenge. But yeah, in FPL, I have stuck with Arne Slot. Good luck as well, McDonald. And thank you very much. John says I benched Hall out of Aina, Kirkes, and Hall. I would have benched Aina personally, but I get your thinking there. Mikalenko again going to get a clean sheet on my bench. Yeah, but when we start him, he's kind of terrible most of the time, isn't it? The guy fell asleep. Yeah, go on. Long may it continue. Let us change the team, you know, when the games are going on. Mbuma is historically bad against Leicester. I saw that record against Leicester, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't put him in my top 10 captaincy options. Now, Isak, for example, had a poor record against Arsenal before this season, and now he always scores against them. So things can change, but yeah, Mbuma, I think he can do well, but he's not one of my favourite captains this week, I have to say. Harrick says bench one of Rogers, Robinson, Munoz. Wow, we're still going to get these, are we? I would bench Munoz out of those three. Aranya says, who'd be your top forward, mid, defender targets for today? In defense, it'd be Gabriel, Robinson, Kirkes, Howson. In the midfield, and also Trent, just because it's Trent. In the midfield, Salah, Kluivert, Dango Ouattara, Mitoma, and maybe Marino. You know, why not? Marino, the brace hero. Up front, I would say, yeah, Chris Wood, Beto, Mateta, Cunha. Someone else I'm missing, isn't it? Yeah, Isak, of course. Although some of these options I mentioned are in pretty much all of our teams. City says team's not locked. Apparently deadline moved to kickoff. Why? Yeah, why is that? Is there actually an update from like an official source saying that? Surely not, mate. Come on, I was actually thinking of, you know, going off, you know. I can't stream forever, you know, I'm not a robot, as some people say. Play Rogers or Larson. Rogers. Start two of Munoz, Robinson, and Rogers. I would bench Munoz, as mentioned before. Rogers is my first sub unless Haaland gets injured. Well, there is a chance Haaland doesn't feature, but Pep Guardiola said we will know tomorrow. Deadline still hasn't passed on the website. Yeah, and on the app as well. I need to see. There's surely someone on Twitter knows what's going on. Wow, I've never seen this happen before. I think it's just like a mistake. That is weird. Bench one, Mateta, Dango, Semenyo. Reluctantly, I'd bench Mateta. Took the opportunity to switch my vice to someone else. Oh, fair enough, yeah. I mean, why not? Just make late changes and see if it backfires for you. Yeah, for Danny, it is the first time. In terms of when a deadline is passed, the game then usually updates, right? It's very strange. I never expected this. Will Liverpool get another double? It's very unlikely. Because they lost against Plymouth in the FA Cup, that would have meant they blanked in 34 and then doubled in 33. Well, now they will feature in Gameweek 34 against Tottenham. And yeah, they will... It's very unlikely they're going to double, to be honest. Isak says, went for Mitoma over Kluivert, already have Semenyo. That's fair. I just prefer Kluivert long-term, and it helps me navigate 29. Mitoma has a fixture, but it is against City away. As bad as they are, I still think they will get the job done. Visser, Wood, or Isak? For this week, Isak. I did those before 6:30. That's a good change if it went through. I hope so. Like I'd mentioned a few minutes ago, what was it now, 20 minutes maybe at this point, I said that Southampton have scored against Brighton in every single meeting since 2012, so no clean sheets for Brighton in 13 years against the Saints. It is a derby, and in my prediction, I went for 3-1 Brighton. Yeah, Dylan, it will go through. Not locked on the website as well. I doubt they'd adjust it manually, says Ahmed. Yeah. I'm going to check again and see if the site is now locked. No, it isn't. What is happening? Oh my god. Well, that means more, you know, more views, more likes, I guess. We'll get to 200, surely. So, thank you, FPL. There's one good thing coming out of it. Go to challenge, yeah. I mean, I've done that, and I'm now going to go off it because, yeah, we're all talking about FPL now. So we're not going to focus on FPL challenge as much. I mean, there's not really a lot to discuss with FPL challenge. I've shown my team a few times, and I don't see myself changing many things there. Omar says, I took out Isak for Wood for a -4. El que tenga miedo a morir, que no nazca. Wow, great motto. Not sure if I'd totally agree with it, but good luck, mate. Start Wood or Semenyo? It's probably Chris Wood. I mean, neither featured in my top 10 list, but Chris Wood is a talisman. I think I'd still go for him. The app is still not updated. Maybe FPL admin is sleeping. Play Rogers or Larson. Rogers. Visser captain. He is 9th in my list of the top 10 captains. Yeah, I wouldn't do that personally, Justin. Sorry. But in my case, Mikolenko over Veltman is a possible substitution which might have gone through, it seems. Yeah, I try not to spam, not to be rude, but you always seem to do this. Foden or Gordon? Probably Gordon. I'm using another FPL app and it is locked in. Yeah, I went on the app to see if my move went through. Maybe I can change my assistant manager. It's giving me a chance. Dylan, try changing the AM. You can afford it. Yes, but I might regret it. And I also want to jinx Liverpool. Julian says, okay, Dylan, you convinced me to play Palmer. Drop Semenyo instead. We'll see if it goes through. Yeah, look, benching either player this week is very tough to say. I don't like benching Semenyo this week. Definitely not. But with Palmer, he's the sort of player you never want to bench, like Salah in years gone by. 6 minutes until team news. Well, interesting, isn't it? Start Chris Wood over Semenyo. I think so, but I don't like benching either. Maybe FPL inspired from the UCL deadline. Yeah, it only took them about 20 bloody years. Let's not forget FPL has been going on for a long time. We haven't got anything official, though. Yeah, it seems like that. Hopefully we can make changes while the teams are announced. Are they testing it? Nah, they fell asleep. Mark Gollage says, looking to try Ahmad tonight to Dango or Semenyo. Short term, I prefer Dango, playing down the middle, whilst Ivanosen is out injured, but they're both solid picks. I can still make changes, yeah. First time since 2013. I didn't play back then, so yeah, maybe that was the last time. Wei Seng says, it's literally the first time since we started playing FPL. Yeah, for a lot of us, that is the case. It's 7:40 AM in New Zealand, and the cutoff hasn't happened. Yeah, I'm not sure why, Jack, but it seems to be an issue where if you make changes now with your subs, your transfers, they are going through. It's reflected on the FPL app and also on the website. Pick one of Better or Mitoma for this week. But Mitoma's 4th in my captaincy list and Beto's 8th. My keeper's Henderson. Should I play Hall or Munoz? I'd go for Lewis Hall. I have seen it where I can bring in a player after the price change deadline and new price has not gone through straight away on the deadline. And I get the old price. Yeah, I know, but this is still very strange to me. I never expected it. People are saying deadline at 7, but why? Like, why? It's just... But yeah, if we did get official confirmation about the deadline being at 7, that means an even longer stream, even though that was already secured since we hit our super chat goal. So thank you to those that sent in those in, and also, yeah, all the likers. Let's get this to 200 plus before we wrap up. But yeah, the game's at 8 PM. Are we going back to the usual 1 hour before kickoff? Maybe. Really tempted to do slot to Glasner for a -4 now. Yeah. Well, I'm ending this poll. Slot to Glasner has won. Let me add one more poll since we've got, you know, a longer deadline, it seems. The fun never stops. Deadline at 8 PM. Really? Maybe a surprise chip. Yeah, imagine that, a chip being about the lineups or the deadline time. That's kind of mad. All right, so with a seemingly extended deadline. Oh dear, would you take a hit, even though I've been vehemently against it all stream, it seems, or another transfer? So let's do this. Slot to Arteta. Oh dear, yeah, I'll cover the lineups very shortly. So thank you for letting me know. So yeah, 1 hour 15 before the game. Makes sense. All right, thank you, Ahmed. Ahmed, sorry, yeah. I'm just having issues with writing, it seems. I'm trying to put the poll out and it's just bugging out, unfortunately. But as long as the stream isn't suffering, that's all I really care about. But that is very odd. I think YouTube itself is kind of freezing for me. All right, so slot to Glasner -4 hit. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's just a manager change, isn't it? I think the alternative, no hits. So yeah, take no hits. Yeah, that's pretty much what my head's at. I'm not going to consider Ruud van Nistelrooy, McKenna. It's really just Arteta, Glasner, or nothing for me, so we'll see. All right, yeah, there we go. It's the bloody chat that was freezing for me. It's now refreshed. I'm losing my mind. Do Glasner, Dylan. Yeah, well, it's close. It is close. Look, if it goes well and you get a win from Glasner, that is massive. But otherwise, you're going to lose out on points. But Emery to Glasner for a -4. I mean, I'm personally not a big fan of taking a hit. I've just put the poll out because it might just be a late, extended deadline. Let's do something crazy. And it's just an excuse to do something stupid, maybe. Let's hope the deadline never ends and we can just make the best team possible. Right, yeah. That'd be too easy. Teams before the deadline. Yeah, it's good to see that back, isn't it? This is exactly what FPL wanted to avoid, by the way. Because even before, when we had it 1 hour before kickoff, we got the deadline at the same time. Oh, sorry, the lineup at the same time. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Let's cover these blasted lineups for Leicester and Brentford. All right. All right, I'll get these up in a second. All right, we'll start off with the home team, Leicester. If there is anyone with Ruud van Nistelrooy, let me know in the live chat, and all the best of luck. Hopefully it goes well for you. But Hermansen is in goal, Koulibaly, Akoli, Fass, Christensen, Samari, Ndidi, El Kanous, De Cordova-Reid, Ayew, and Vardy. So yeah, Koulibaly is replacing the injured James Justin, but as reported by Ruud van Nistelrooy, kind of a positive update actually on James Justin. The injury isn't as serious as initially feared, but he is out for Gameweek 26. It seemed like a nasty one, that knock he picked up, that injury against Arsenal. Now with Brentford, who will be of more interest FPL-wise, I've got Brian Mbeumo and the amazing Valdi Morrison, who is benched, of course. Flecken is in goal. Ayer, Collins, Pinnock, Lewis Potter, Norgard, Janelt, Damsgaard, Schade, Visser, and Mbeumo. So no surprises here. Vandenberg is injured, probably for the next couple of weeks, which was also highlighted by Thomas Frank. So yeah, these are the lineups, and we still have an unlocked team, I think. Yeah, the deadline is still not here. So is it 7 PM, 8 PM? If anyone does know, I would very much appreciate any updates on that, because I am in the dark right now. I'm just answering your questions. So Sofair says 8 PM deadline. People have obviously said lineups out. That's all been covered now. Start Trent or Mikalenko. It's still Trent for me. Yeah, okay, I wouldn't sell Glasner, or sell Emery to Glasner for a hit. I don't think so. I might just do it in the end for a bit of banter, but I'm not sure, Cram. Some people say 7, others say 8 PM. We'll see. Messing up like EA. To be fair, they're one of the worst gaming companies, but let's not talk about that. FPL should give us another free wildcard for this mess up. Very wishful thinking, to be fair. I don't think they'd do that. Imagine someone is making Gameweek 27 moves already. Well, it might be a blessing in disguise, or, as you kind of suggest, it might be terrible. The extended deadline is dangerous. Possibly. It might just lead to us doing stupid things and then crying about it. If Collins concedes, I'm taking him out. It is Brentford, though, to be fair. They aren't a good defence, despite their recent clean sheet against West Ham. I'm looking at my app. I got 106 in Gameweek 25, but it shows 92 on my app. It was showing 106 a few days ago. The app has been a bit buggy recently, to be fair. Yeah, like with the assistant manager, it wouldn't show their points for a while. And FPLX posted the lineup, says Ahmed. Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Liverpool can still win. I'm sticking with Slot. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, with Arne Slot, I either get points from him or I jinx Liverpool. That's the way I look at it. So either way, I'm happy with the outcome. Now I'm doubting everything. It's probably a good thing that FPL have the deadlines they do, although it doesn't favour worldwide viewers like yourself who live in New Zealand. But yeah, that is my current team. Am I going to change it? We'll find out soon. Maybe FPL give Dylan some time to change his mind on Slot. Nah, definitely not, mate. I have no contact with him. YSA says Mikalenko or Hall. Slight press for Mikalenko. Yeah. Start Castagna or Munoz. I'd go for Munoz. More avenues to points, and I went for a 2-2 draw. Considering Villa's history of having poor results whenever they play games in quick succession, I did Emery to Arteta. Hopefully Villa draw against Chelsea. I went for 1-1 in that Villa-Chelsea game and a 1-0 win for Arsenal, so that would result in a net gain, but it's not a massive kind of boost, to be fair. No stick with Slot. Genius Gamer says don't. Fair enough. Take no hits is winning with 51%. -4 for Glasner, 35, and Arteta only 14%. But since I've bought Clover already in the last few minutes of the official deadline, now it would require a -4 hit. So yeah, that was covered as well. Mikalenko Hall as well. I benched Palmer and started Gordon. I would not bench Palmer personally, but you've got time to change it, it looks like. Just did Gakpo to Beto. All the best. I hope it works out. Didn't we say 1 week you got a go table bonus? I mean, in an ideal world, yes, but I just don't think slot to Glasner for a hit is worth it, and I think Fulham can win. I've gone for 2-2, and that would be enough for table bonus, but the only way I think it's really worth it for a hit is if Glasner gets a win, and I don't think Palace will get their victory, personally. I can't handle this chaos. Yeah, I get that. FPL official account has said the deadline is closed. Oh, right. What? But as in, was it closed at 6:30 when it should have been, or is it? Let's actually have a look. Let's go to the FPL website and see what they've said about this mess. Oh yeah, they did say it 23 minutes ago. They said, stop, the deadline is closed. Which late changes did you manage to make? Uh. So it does look like, yeah, I think Mikolenko is in my final starting 11. I really hope that doesn't backfire for me. And Mikolenko has a poor record. Sorry, Everton have a poor record. App still available. Locked now, says Genius Gamer. But the app is open. What are they doing? Aranya says, I have 2 Bournemouth midfielders. Which ones? Or get Mitoma, Minter. Kluivert for me is number 1. I've always been consistent on that since basically, December? The second one, I think in the short term, I would prefer Dango Ouattara, but it all depends on your chip strategy, when are you looking to wildcard, and how long do you need this player. But I think right now, I do lean towards Dango over Semenyo, but not by much. It's really close. Kluivert, though, I think is number 1 because of penalties. Durgish, maybe you don't know, but Leicester vs Brentford is tonight. Yeah, that's why I showed the lineups, and we got those confirmed. Imagine you missed the deadline and come back to this. Oh, yeah, it is kind of like a, what is it, a second chance. What have I missed? Somehow we got an extended deadline, it looks like. We'll see, though, once we're officially locked in. The game is finally updated, no more changes can be made. Our dream time is over. Yeah, and I stuck with slot. I put Mikolenko in for Veltman, I guess. We'll find out in the reaction stream. The plan is to do one tomorrow, but with such a quick turnaround between deadlines, yeah, I'll try to also do the usual content, transfer tips, wildcard, and team selection videos beforehand. And then all focus will be on the, by that stage, you'll be Gameweek 28 deadline for next weekend. Well, I think it's the one after, actually, yeah. And of course, UCL Fantasy will return. But yeah, a lot of deadlines and streams are coming your way, which, yeah, some people will hate, some people will love, but we will be here. I think I'm changing my captain to Mbeumo once he scores since the app is open. Yeah, be careful with that because, you might think, oh, wow, anything's possible in life. The deadline is gone beyond what it should have done. Oh, my new captain is terrible, or I put in Mikolenko for Veltman, and I've done an absolute twat up. I support Liverpool, so I should just back us to beat City. Yeah, it's just your record at the Etihad isn't great, but this isn't your typical City team under Guardiola. FPL official X account has said the deadline is closed. Yeah, thanks, Gabriel. If Mbeumo scores a brace and app not locked, will you switch, Dylan? Oh. Well, nah. I think once the players are actually playing, even if this thing persisted, I don't think that is actually possible. But let's say if it was, then yeah, kind of. Basically, are you asking me, would you cheat? Yeah, I probably would, to be fair. So yeah, we'll go through these comments. I know some of these are kind of late. And some of them, yeah, I have covered, but the chat is bugged out, and I don't know which ones I've highlighted anymore. Sell Arnold for Kirkers? Nope. Which 3 forwards are best from Gameweek 30 onwards? I have Cunha, Wood, and Isak. I think Mateta. Now, after Gameweek 32, I would argue that Mateta is sellable, but in Gameweek 30, Palace have Southampton away. They double in 32, so I think Mateta does qualify. Deadline is 1.5 hours before Everton versus United. Dylan, I have a dare for you. Keep streaming until it shows app locked. Possible. We'll wait and see. But I'm not going to guarantee it. Moyes and Emery overtake slot points last 2 game weeks. I don't mind, since Liverpool dropped points, to be fair. But it goes to show you how powerful table bonus can be. Because Emery got 2 draws, and yet he outscored slot by 1 point. Now, you could say it was an element of fortune that went against Liverpool and slot, because in the Everton game, they conceded 98th minute to Tarkowski. And against Aston Villa, Darwin Núñez misses an open goal. So really, these fine margins have resulted in a massive swing against slot, but he's still got 28 points. It's not too shabby. Went for McKenna and Visser captain in the end. All the best. I hope the late changes don't backfire. Trent or Robinson? Still Trent. This is when I spied on my mini league and it's full of doubt, regret, questions, and also wondering why some choices were made. Yeah. Well, all we can hope for is that we've done the right thing, but there is a lot of outcome bias in FPL, and sometimes the decision might be good, but the outcome isn't. So yeah, a lot of people saying we are locked now. It is about time. Buying in Boomer and captaining him later if he scores a hat-trick. I've already got him. I'm just hoping he can do something for once, because he has been quite underwhelming since early January. It's letting me make unlimited free transfers. Was that actually the case? Surely not. Closed bench Rodgers. Hope I don't see his cold celebration against Chelsea. Well, I hope we get something from him. A lot of top 10k went Glasner. Wow. That's interesting. App is crashed. Think it's locked now. Benching Palmer. Starting Salah, Rodgers, Semenyo, Mitoma. I wouldn't have benched Palmer. No. I would have started him over Rodgers personally. So yeah, everyone is saying we're locked. The dream is over. The stream will be over soon as well. Yes, we will be gone soon. People are still saying the app is open. Is it? Let's see if I can actually make the change again of Veltman in for Mikalenko. No, it says the app is updating. Yeah, no, we are locked in for sure now. Victory favors the brave. Sometimes, yeah. Slot team hacked to the app. Yeah, City, yeah, it's all done. Do I do a hit for Rodgers to Sharda, Brighton mid, I guess that is, or Gakpo to Cunha, Visser Marmush, or not at all? I'd stick with what you have, I think, and either way, it is over. Who made the FPL app? Well, the Premier League. The people in charge of the fantasy game. Connor P says locked. Apparently Donald Trump has hacked the app. He wants to close down TikTok as well as FPL. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of TikTok, to be fair, but there are some decent posts in there, I guess. As for FPL, not too shabby, I guess. I can still make changes on the app. Not me, though. Welcome Discover with Sim. I blame Trump too, says Ahmed. Is going into this game with only Dango a risk? Not really. You can't have them all. I only had Semenyo before the deadline. I bought in Kluivert. But I never said that Bournemouth, doubling or tripling up on them is essential. Certainly not. The Twitter posted it on 7:30, which means he didn't have time to know if it's locked or not. And also they schedule posts. FPL will do that. Doge making budget cuts to FPL. He's an FPL avid player, says Ahmed. I tried to change the captain. It's not happening. Well, it might be a blessing in disguise for you. I've got Everton and Arsenal double defense. The backfire could be catastrophic. I really hope it isn't, especially if Mikalenko has gone through for me and he's in my starting 11, which you can see on screen. Riston Boomer captain this week. He wasn't in my top 10 captains, but that might have been a mistake on my part. Did slot to Potter after deadline. Potter? Wow. Well, all the best, even though I really don't hope it's for the best. I hope West Ham lose. Is FPL still up? No, not anymore. Deadline is not extended. I think, this might be wrong, but I do think 6:30. I mean, yeah, the app and the website did show the changes, the transfers and subs being made, but I don't know why. I still have a feeling the deadline was the deadline, and what we saw after was a visual glitch. We'll see. I bought Invista 20 minutes after the deadline. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, would you have done that if, let's say, for example, you had 20 minutes left of the normal deadline? Would you have bought Visser in? I'm curious. I do think psychologically it has kind of changed how a lot of people have approached Gameweek 26. Try to change the captain. Yeah, that's all covered. Kirkes, Clover, and Dango to start on my team. Nice triple up. Not necessary or essential, but still pretty decent nonetheless. JC Snooks says, I went with Clover captain. I'm 50k overall. Hope I haven't shot myself in the foot. Well, you're still in a great position, and it's quite risky to do it, you could say, but that could be what propels you to the top 10k or somewhere nearabouts. Twisted Parky says Leicester 1, Brentford 3. Everton 1, United 0. Arsenal 1, I'm going to assume West Ham 0, but maybe you've gone for a West Ham shocking result. Bournemouth 3, Wolves 0. Fulham 1, Palace 2. Ipswich 0, Spurs 2. Southampton 0, Brighton 2. Aston Villa 2, Chelsea 1. Newcastle 2, Forest 1, City 2, Liverpool 2. The FPL Dylan Cup starts today. Get a buy this game week. Oh yeah, I forgot about the cups. They can be interesting, but not a huge fan of them. If I'm not free hitting in 29, is it okay to have only 11 starters without taking hits? Oh, of course. You just need a starting 11. That's what matters. But it's also about the quality of players you have. So if you can somehow get to Haaland that week, that would be great, actually. If Glasner blanks, will FPL managers behave themselves in the aftermath? Thanks. Well, not all of them, no. Some people will kind of gloat. You know what's going to happen. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to gloat for sure. And if Slot flops, I actually won't mind. I'm not going to cry about it. If anything, I might be very happy about it. The app crash when your cup starts today. Interesting choice. It's nothing to do with me, I promise. Yeah, Arsenal 1-0 says Twisted Parky. So we'll go through those one more time, and I'm going to end this poll since, yeah, Take No Hits did win with that seemingly extended deadline we got today for the first time in FPL history, or since 2013, as some people mentioned. So let's go to FPL Challenge, even though I'm still on the FPL website because I'm an idiot. So yeah, Pickford in goal, Kirkes, Robinson, Gabriel, Salah captain, Merino, Kluivert, Maddison, Isak, Visser, and Arteta as my assistant manager in this game. But you know what? I mean, yeah, Arsenal ties, you know, just an excuse to go for Arteta. But I might go for Glasner, you know. In this game, I might go for him. Yeah, just really target this table bonus and hope for the best. Yeah, I might do that. Interesting. So yeah, that is a possible change for me in FPL Challenge. Arteta to Glasner, and then maybe Merino out, especially if he's on the bench when we get the lineup. But overall, I think that's fairly solid. Not too shabby. Salah captain. Maybe an excuse to go for Kluivert in Fantasy Challenge. Yeah, why not? So that is my current team for this game mode. And let's see, can I... All right. Okay. I mean, who cares? I mean, that's just OCD, you could say. Dylan, you are so OCD. Thank you. Let's go to predictions. So yeah, just for those that haven't seen it, I've covered them a few times, but I have gone for these set of results. Leicester 1, Brentford 2, Everton 2, Man United 0, Arsenal 1, West Ham 0, Bournemouth 3, Wolves 1. There was that famous commentator, right, who read out the results. Fulham 2, Crystal Palace 2, Ipswich 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2, back to my normal annoying voice. Southampton 1, Brighton 3, Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 1, Newcastle 2, Nottingham Forest 1, and then Man City 1, Liverpool 1. So based on that, you'd probably argue you should have gone for Arteta or Glasner, but I didn't, and that is what I'm left with. So it has been an entertaining stream, and we have gotten something unprecedented with the seemingly extended deadline. I keep saying seemingly because we don't know for sure yet. Coding Life says, it was mostly just a test transfer, to be fair with you, mate, but versus Leicester, so not bad shout. I draw Pedro anyway. Oh, that's good. And also, you're living up to your name, right? Coding Life. If that's, maybe you're just like, what the hell are you on about, Dylan? First year, I got to the final and lost the Brighton Cup. Oof. Well, hopefully you can win it this year. Good luck. Thanks again. Good luck, Dylan. Likewise, City. Do we know the story behind why Buonanotte is not starting for Leicester? Well, a new manager, right? He was getting a lot of game time under Steve Cooper, but under Van Nistelrooy, that hasn't been the case. Get Rude in. No, definitely not for me. I think Brentford will win after all. Do you mind telling your age? No, I don't want to tell you. No, I'm 25. Yeah, I'm 25. FPL Challenge Team, Verbruggen, Pedro Porro, Robinson, Gabriel, Salah, Mbumo, Mitoma, Wood, Visser, Mateta, Assman on Hursler. Wow, interesting. You're not even a Brighton fan. But Twisted Parky will be happy. Don't you support Chelsea, though? Maybe you'll argue over that. I'm just stirring beef like Gnabry. Fast in Bobulus, Bulbus, what a name, is all about Glasner, 31-33, dose fixtures. He is getting over 50 points. Yeah, if I knew we were going to get back-to-back doubles in 32-33, I maybe would have saved it. But having said that, I use my triple captain in Gameweek 2. So, yeah, I think those that triple captain Salah in either 24-25, and we'll use the assistant manager in Gameweek 32. Yeah, I think that looks like the best one. App just started updating now. Fair enough. Cheers, mate. Good luck. Thank you, FPL Kevy. I'll get 3 clean sheets out of 4 if your predictions are right. I hope they are right and Mykolenko can get one, but I have a slight feeling if he is in my final starting 11, I might live to regret that. Is the FPL website? No, it's not. I don't know why I even tried it. But apparently the app is updated. If it is, I can then look. No, it's not for me. Let me close it and open it again. And it's still updating for me. Exactly, Dylan. Yeah, look, I've done a bit of coding before, but wasn't great at it. It's not for everyone. Let's put it that way. Were you free in 29 or 33? It's not locked in for me, but it's probably more likely I free in 29 at the moment. I'm keeping my options open, and what that private transfer has done for me is given me another good player who features in Blank Gameweek 29. Nathaniel says now in the round of 8k as well as the Arsenal Cup, but to be honest, I'm scared because my opponent has a chip AM whilst I don't. Do you know which manager they have though? That'd be interesting. Polyglot Singer says, holy shit, you're still live? I don't know why I said it in an American voice. You are crazy committed, man. Bro is live for 3 hours. Yeah, well, because, you know, having a bit of fun. We had an extended deadline as well where we could seemingly make transfers and changes. I put Mykolenko in for Veltman. We'll see if that goes through. I've supported Arsenal all my life, so since I was 3 or 4, I guess. Yeah. I went Glasner and I'm a seagull. Ah, you traitor. Isak Captain says, Chat Sport. He's third in my list. He got 11 points against Forest last time out with a goal and an assist. Hope Brighton smash Southampton and get my Assman some points. Yeah, I don't mind that. As long as Veltman blanks, I'll take that. Thank you, FPL Cortex. Buenas noches, Dylan. Hope you're doing well, mate. Likewise, always good to see you. Rogers is finished. Says, hi all. Went in Boomer captain tonight. I either celebrate or cry. Well, you know, it's a great sign that the player I sold has the name in terms of what your channel username. Rogers is finished. So hopefully that bodes well and he blanks and I can not regret selling him. Yeah, my opponent had Slot, I think. Well, you know what? I'll say it now. If Slot blanks, that'll be very good for both you and I, and we can live to fight another day. Even though I've got him in my team, but it means Liverpool drop some points. So basically, ever since the downfall started, behave, mate, behave. Well, actually, when I was, I'm pretty sure when I started supporting Arsenal, yeah, I went to the title parade in 2004. I was a little kid. I remember a little bit. I don't know how. I was only 5 years old when that happened. But yeah, good times. And hopefully I can see many more. Hopefully this year, but if not, in the years to come, for sure. Easy99 says, I just need Rogers and Hall to clean up the Blank Gameweek 29 players. Only Salah, who blanks from blank players, will be on the bench. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it's fairly easy to navigate Blank Gameweek 29 without the free hit, but there's also a massive difference between the free hit team with, you know, just having 11 players out. It's about the quality of players as well. Yeah, prediction for the game tonight. So yeah, as I covered with the graphics, you can also rewind. I did go for 2-1 Brentford. We'll see. I mean, I've gotten a few predictions spot on here and there. I think last week the only one I got 100% accurate was Bournemouth's result, actually. Yeah, I said 3-1 actually for them. Hopefully, good evening, aka Emery does well this week against Chelsea. His record against them isn't great, but yeah, I've gone for a 1-1 draw there. Will Liverpool bottle to give another Arsenal, the current bottlers, a chance? Let's calm down, mate. Both Arsenal and Liverpool have bottled league titles in the past. So have Man United, by the way. You know, a lot of teams have done it. Newcastle. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't think Arsenal did last season, but the year before that, despite it being their first year challenging of a young team, they did fall off big time, so you can't really say otherwise. If you don't realise, I have Calafiori as my PFP, so I'm also a gunner. Yeah, I didn't see the DP like properly, to be fair. It's like a small speck for me, especially with my terrible eyesight. I do like Calafiori, by the way. I just hope he can stay fit, but yeah, he scored some great goals for Arsenal so far. Both my keepers got 10 points last week. Flecken and Verbruggen, wow. But then in most weeks, they'll get 2-3 points, right? So it can show you that these 4-point family and goalkeepers can work and this rotation, but I'd rather just stick with one and start them week in, week out. Manny Deep says, Liverpool 0, City 1, best result for FPL and will make the league interesting. Well, I hope City get a win or a draw. I hope they get a result, but yeah, I've got Arne Slot to cover all bases, so whatever happens, I'm leaving with something. What's your opinions about Egyptian players in the Premier League? Well, Salah's one of the greatest wingers in Premier League history. Marmoush had a great start to his career, scoring a hat-trick against Newcastle. and I think he can be a great signing for City. But in terms of like expecting the consistency he showed at Frankfurt, we might have to wait a little while until that happens. And of course, El Neni, he was kind of like a cult hero at Arsenal. He's even got like a mural near the ground. You know what's remarkable in regards of Arsenal? They in fact constantly pushed higher in the league table over the last like 7 seasons. They were 8th and 5th until they always finished like 2nd. Well, that's what I mean. Arteta's done a great job, but now it's about getting over the line, and they didn't do enough in the last 3 transfer windows to make that possible. UCL draw prediction after the draw. I'll talk more about this in the UCL fantasy stream, but I'd probably say Liverpool, Arsenal, Real Madrid, Bayern. I think Bayer Leverkusen actually would beat Bayern Munich as things stand. Inter Milan. Yeah, I think those teams will go through. And also Aston Villa, Borussia Dortmund. So yeah, those are my projected quarterfinalists. And we'll talk more about it, of course, like I said, in UCL fantasy videos. Yeah, El Neni, yeah. He scored some great goals, like the one against Barcelona. And yeah, I liked him. He always put in a shift for Arsenal. Very underrated. Went about his business. I loved his attitude. Kevin Schade brace incoming. That'd make it 5 goals against less than 2 appearances this season. FPL Cortex says Ferzia bought in Cunha a week earlier. Hopefully he bangs against Bournemouth. I'm kind of hoping he doesn't. Even though, you know what? If Cunha scores a goal, you know, and doesn't get bonus points, and then the Bournemouth clean sheet is wiped out, but Kluivert and Semenyo still do the business, that's the ideal dream world for me, but it's not happening. Madrid, Barca, El Clasico UCL final. That's the only way they can actually meet each other. It can't happen in the semi-finals or the quarters. I wouldn't rule it out, but whenever we get this kind of like, oh, North London Derby Carabao Cup final, Argentina-Brazil World Cup final, or El Clasico Champions League final, it just never happens. Mbeumo Blank incoming. I wouldn't be surprised. He wasn't in my top 10 captains. Why is the game still letting me make changes? Well, the game is now updated, so this will be for Gameweek 27. Do not make transfers unless you just want to make early moves. What continent has impressed you the most individually in the Premier League? I don't know. Good question. I mean, you could say Africa, but there's also South America. I mean, Europe is kind of like a bit unfair because we are in a European country. Yeah, I'd be tempted to say Africa. Yeah, I think Africa, South America, I mean, with Aguero. Yeah, I might lean towards Africa, actually, yeah. Inter, Aston Villa, Dortmund, Barca, Real, Liverpool, easy going through. I mean, yeah, I'd have to say so as well. Yeah, I think so. I'm rooting for a Feyenoord semi-final run like Ajax in 2018. I actually wanted Feyenoord as an Arsenal fan because it would have put us on Bayern's side of the draw. And as good as Bayern are, and they've got a great record against the Gunners, they're not as good as Bayer Leverkusen or... Sorry, wait. Actually, yeah. I mean, I keep saying that. I mean, I expect Leverkusen to go through, to be fair. But I don't think that's as difficult as Real Madrid or Atletico, actually. Yeah, we'll talk more about that once again in UCL Fantasy. FPL Cortex says up to 2.8k overall in UCL Fantasy, thanks to a couple of your tips. I'm glad to hear it. I'm not doing anywhere near as well as I would like to, but yeah, I'm hoping I can turn things around in the knockout stages. Hope some underdogs go through. Hope some of the small teams win. Yeah, as long as it's not PSV, but I'd like Atletico Madrid in the next round, although that would be very tough. Mbeumo hat-trick. We're getting some varying opinions here. Are you expecting 3 Italian clubs to be knocked out in the playoffs? No, definitely not. I did say a lot of times I thought Feyenoord could beat AC Milan and go through, but I didn't expect Juventus to go out. MMK says pretty sure it won't happen, but would love to see it. Good night, Dylan. Guys, see you in the reaction stream. Yeah, that is the plan for tomorrow, but yeah, there's a lot of content that will come your way because we've got another deadline very shortly. Asian countries, especially Japan, will be dangerous in the next World Cup. If they play well, a lot of them will play in the Premier League. Yeah, I think Asia probably has like the fastest growing sort of football network. Of course, Matoma is a quality winger. Would you like to see the Limitless in FPL? Yeah, I think so. Or at least some of those UCL fantasy rules like ball recoveries. I can still make changes. That's for Gameweek 27, not for Gameweek 26. So my team for this week, McKenna, all the best there. I hope it goes well. Mikalenko, Pickford, Gabriel, Munoz, Mbeumo, Palmer, Salah, Semenyo, Wood, Isak, vice-captain. Well, it's a solid squad. And McKenna can get a win against Tottenham, but it is risky, of course. That's the point of it. Yeah, I just wish you the best. There's a few players here and there, maybe like Munoz. Or the double up in Everton defensively, which might not be the best for this week, but still a solid platform. I got back up to 13.8k. Hopefully my -4 didn't screw it. Great rank, and I think a lot of hits are flying around. FPL Cortex says, as a Madrid fan, I wanted Leverkusen, to be honest. Shabby against Ancelotti. He managed him at Madrid and Bayern Munich as well. Either way, I think Real Madrid will reach the semi-finals minimum, but they've got a tough route to get there. Thank you, Ahmed. You're the coolest Arsenal fan I've met. Still can't stand the team. There are a lot of sensible Arsenal fans, by the way, and I'm not claiming to be one of them. Yeah, it's just, you always get like a loud sort of section on Twitter and stuff. I ignore them. Japan beat Germany and Turkey very bad last year since the World Cup ended. Yeah, I mean, since they won the World Cup, they've gone out in, 2 group stages in a row. Long may that continue. No offense to any Germans watching, but they are the bane of my international prospects. Or extra points for a goal scored outside the box. Yeah, I don't even mind that too much. Or just having like the player of the match, like the official one, having a guaranteed points advantage over the rest. If you have Mateta and Munoz, would you still go Glasner as your table bonus ASM, or go all in on Palace, or would you pick a different ASM? I'll be honest. Yeah, it is kind of like an all-in strategy here. So it's either brilliant for you or it's a shambles. It's a good question. I wasn't asked before. I probably still would have gone for him if you wanted those table bonus. I think FPL is busy resetting the changes made after deadline. Oh, you think so? That'd be... I mean, they always take a long time, like half an hour to 45 minutes. And in terms of the visuals anyway, on the website and app, it looked like it kind of closed officially at 6:45 p.m. Play Rodgers or Mateta. For this week, I would have gone for Mateta, but very close. And I do think Rodgers can actually cause a lot of pain to those that sold or benched him this week. But yeah, a lot of benching dilemmas, which have all been covered throughout the stream. Thank you to those that have tuned in for the last 3 hours. It has been another mammoth stream on this channel. Smash the like button and subscribe if you're new, if you enjoy my content or found it insightful. And also hit that notification bell to never miss a single upload or live stream. Follow me on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for my Patreon and the championships for early access to my videos, amongst my other perks. The Discord server, FPL League, Spotify, and much more can be found in the description. And thank you to the super chatters, patrons, members, and subscribers. You're all massively appreciated. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and UC Fantasy content. The plan is to do a reaction stream this weekend, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And UC Fantasy videos will return yet again in preparation for the knockout stages in Matchday 11. We got the draw and some very appealing fixtures for the round of 16. And if you have any more questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. And also, just follow me on those social media platforms and we can cover them there. Take care, enjoy the football. I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 26 and the rest of the season. And potentially I'll see you tomorrow for a reaction stream.